And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicenda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire here at Plus One is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but the most fun way to do it is to sit down with those creators to play those games. That's exactly what we're doing today. We are playing Orbital Blues, which right now is funding its first major expansion ever. But for those of you who haven't heard about it, don't know what it's all about, or don't know what the expansion is, let's kick it over to Jelly from Soul Muppet Publishing. Jelly, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit about Orbital Blues?
Everyone, my name is Zach, or the Jelly Muppet. I run an RPG company called Soul Muppet Publishing, where I make, amongst other games, Orbital Blues, a sad space western RPG about interstellar outlaws doing what they can to make ends meet in a retro future Dust Bowl space Americana galaxy, while dealing with the fact that they have depression and that they are sad because of the things that have happened to them in their lives. It's a game about trauma. It's a game about moving on, and it's a game about, you know, having gunfights in space and all the things that are associated with amazing space western media that we borrowed from in the game.
Awesome. Hey, I've noticed a thing about your games, Jelly, and that's that people are sad in them a whole lot. Is there anything we need to talk about? I just want to check in on you real quick.
You and me personally, like, I think I'm good, man. It's been a long couple years. The current theme of all my games is trying to escape situations that are really bad for people, that are generally speaking created by capitalism. So the fact that I myself am like a queer leftist probably comes into that somewhat, but yeah, I'm doing okay, better than I've been in a while, especially seeing how excited people are about the Kickstarter that's going on at the moment, and at least knowing that my mortgage is paid for a couple months, so that's always good to know.
There you go.
You know, running RPG is much the same as being an interstellar outlaw on a spaceship, because in Orbital Blues you can never really make enough money to pay everything. and all the money you have disappears at the end of the month to repair your spaceship or make sure you've got enough vac sealant, or in my case, like paying shipping bills and making sure my VAT returns are done on time. So yeah, but Orbital Blues is a game about like being a self-employed person struggling with mental health problems. So yeah, I think I'm doing all right.
All right, just wanted to check. So Afterburn is the first major expansion for Orbital Blues. Tell us a little bit about what people can kind of expect in that before we dive into play.
Yeah, so the book that's been out for about 2 years now is the Orbital Blues core book, and it's got like everything you need to run the game. It's got rules, character creation, a pretty sizable adventure that will do you for like 4 to 6 sessions worth of content, and sort of GM's advice and enemies and all the stuff you'd expect in an RPG book. But what we wanted to do with Afterburn is fill in the gaps for making the rest of the line make sense. We've added a bunch of more stuff to do with spaceships. Everyone always said when they were playing Orbital Blues that the spaceship is like the most important character in the game after the sort of PCs that you're playing, the outlaws. So we wanted to do more to allow you to give a sense of place and a sense of home to the spaceship and make it be like that character that it deserves in the media we're referencing. If you think about like Cowboy Bebop or Firefly, those are both series named after the spaceship. So it's very much the central character. And basically it's a bunch of stuff to do with that, as well as the longest ever adventure we've ever written for Orbital Blues called Redshift Riders. And I say it's Afterburn. The whole Orbital Blues Kickstarter is like a place to get started with the game, and you get reprints of everything. And we're not just making this book and the first hardcover expansion to it of all the stuff I was just talking about, GM's advice, spaceship stuff, new adventure. There's also like a VHS box set, which is a bunch of pamphlet adventures in a VHS case, because we all love vintage media here at Soul Muppet. Then also there is a slipcase full of adventures. You can rebuy the amazing cassette EP that Chris Bissett made as part of the original Kickstarter, and we're hoping to announce a stretch goal in the next couple of days. You heard it here first, guys, to get a follow-up, which is exciting. So you'll be able to add 2, possibly even 3 cassettes to the project if we hit all the stretch goals. And then a load of other stuff like that you can keep an eye on, and it's kind of like the place to either expand your love of Orbital Blues or get started if you fancy some sad cowboy adventures in your lives.
Love it. Love it. Well, speaking of sad cowboy adventures, let's do some, but let's meet our other players first. Marc, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where folks can find you online?
Yeah, my name's Marc. I go by he and them, and I play, design, and run games a whole lot. You can find me at my last name on the internet all over the place, MHACHER. I've got a bunch of stuff on Itch. We stream at least twice a week right now, and yeah, just looking to have a good time.
Awesome. Glad to have you with us. Quinn, let's go to you next.
Hi, I'm Quinn. I make games. Sometimes I even finish them. Sometimes I even publish the games I finish. It's kind of like a tiered success system. What do I have? I have like 3 or 4 whips going on right now. But if you want to see the stuff that actually made it out of that phase, you can find my stuff at 200proof.itch.io. 200proof. I've got a fun horror game. It's a good time to play my horror game. And I've also got Any Percent, which is a tarot-fueled game where you speedrun a video game using tarot cards.
Love it. Super excited. Matt, how about you? Tell us all the things.
Hey.
Matt, is this your first time? I feel like we've played together before. Or is this your first time on a stream?
This is the first time on a stream, yeah.
Okay.
I think a couple years ago I was supposed to be on a stream, and then I think I had to drop out, and I think Quinn got my slot that time. So this is like
Quinn's
I think
returning
the first
the
official
favor
time
today.
I've been on stream. Yeah.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, glad to be here. It's exciting. So I'm Matt Fennell. I think about games a lot. I don't play or write games very much. I like to think that maybe eventually I will. But kind of the main thing, I think, like my main creative thing that I can point people to is Quinn and I do a podcast about comic books. specifically about the works of manga artist and author Naoki Urasawa. Quinn usually does the intro, so I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember the patter for it. But we just finished our first season on Monster, which I'm pretty sure the anime is on Netflix right now. I think that's kind of the one that I know people know, but it's called Urasawa Boys. You can find us. We're on Twitter and on Blue Sky now, and
I've been calling
wherever.
it Beastie.
Yeah, because that's what the name shortens to. But that's kind of, I think, where you can, if you watch this and decide I want more Matt content. That's
the
where
best
it's at
place
right
to go
now.
for it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, excited about it. Also, if you are just joining us here at Plus One EXP, we play a lot of games all the time. If you want to check out what we're up to, hit follow or subscribe wherever you are watching right now. Actually, this week, this kind of kicks off a whole lot of streams over the next 8 days. We have at least 7 streams will be happening as part of our EX Scream Horror Week. So this is something that Keegan cooked up, one of our team members, and we are going to be playing different horror games all week long. Some of our October Zine Club releases, our November Zine Club releases are going to be in their layers. Kayla Dice, who is one of the contributors on the Orbital Blues Afterburn Kickstarter, has a game coming out with us called Fear the Taste of Blood next month that we're going to get a chance to play this coming Wednesday, and a whole lot of other just spooky streams over the course of the next week. So come check out the EX Scream experience here on Plus One EXP. And if you want to support us, head over to rpgzine.club. Check out what we're doing there. It's a great way to create sustainability, support a bunch of different emerging and expanding creators, and get cool new zines every month along with supporting the channel. You can also do it in all the normal ways, sharing, liking, subscribing, all that kind of stuff. But let's go ahead and take a look at this session. Before we dive in, we always use a couple different tools here on stream. I know that you recommend the script change mechanic in the actual text of the book itself. We also talked through lines and veils before we got started. Jelly also gave us kind of the heads up on some of the things that are going to be included within the context of the actual setting itself. But we also have a strong line against sexual violence and sexual coercion here on the stream. Lines are things that may happen in the world of the game, but they don't happen while they're playing it. They're off limits from the narrative. Veils are things that may happen in the course of play, but we touch on them lightly or treat them sensitively. That could be mentioning them fading to black, moving forward, or using or only approaching them within a certain context. And then the X card is the ability to say or type X at any point in time, identify an issue that you found troubling, problematic, confusing, and then we'll either clarify it or remove it and move forward in a different direction. Does anybody have any lines or veils that they want to add, or do we have any other safety items we want to go over? Cool. Awesome. With that said, we also have an open door policy, which means we're real people with real lives outside the small little rectangle that you are looking at us. If we need to step off screen for a minute, eat, drink, take care of ourselves in some way, shape, or form, we're going to do that because we're real-ish people who do normal-ish things and have real life needs. So you should also take care of yourself while you are watching, but please note that we will also if we need to. With that said, Jelly, I'm going to hand things over to you to take us into Orbital Blues.
Okay, so I'm going to run everybody to start through the rules of the game of Orbital Blues. So the game is a 3-stat system. Each of you has a number of points in muscle, savvy, and grit. When something happens where we want to use the dice to decide a risky, dangerous thing that has interesting consequences and a possibility of failure, we'll do something called a stat check. When we do a stat check, we're going to roll 2d6 and add the number in your stats, which is going to be somewhere between 0 and 2 as play begins. The target we're looking for is an 8. If you pass 8, then you will you'll pass that check, and the thing you want to happen will happen. If not, something will go wrong. Either you will get like a success at a cost, or something will go wrong. This isn't you being an idiot. You're not falling flat on your face. Your characters aren't. This isn't slapstick comedy. This is something adverse happening in the world that prevents you from getting what you need to happen. There's 2 ways this might change. You will either be rolling a situation where you have an advantage with something that is called the upper hand, which means you roll 3 dice and pick the 2 higher and you add your stat. And if you have a situation where the world is against you and you just cannot get an edge, you will be rolling against the odds. That is where you're doing 3 and picking the 2 lower. So there will be advantage and disadvantage. That number that you're looking for, 8, never ever changes and always remains exactly the same, just for clarity about what it is that's happening in the setting. The other thing that is going to happen is there will maybe be a combat, and if there is, there are slightly more involved rules for that, but not by much. You'll still be using the same core mechanic. You'll be rolling a number of dice and trying to get more than an 8. But we'll get to that if a combat breaks out. What I would advise to you is that that game is not as stacked in your favor as you might expect in a traditional role-playing game. This is death doesn't happen a lot to these characters, but it's still going to be an awkward situation if you end up in a gunfight and it's something you'd rather avoid. The other things that can have different rules are a spaceship combat, and if we get into one of those, then something really has gone wrong. So good luck.
Oh boy.
The main mechanic you guys are going to be interacting with today is your trouble. Each one of your characters has one of these, which reflects the reason that you are sad in space. You might be bloodthirsty and be sort of perpetually violent and making bad life choices surrounding that. You may have lost it all on the river and be somebody obsessed with gambling and getting their life away. You might be a party animal or a reluctant vagabond or on the run. Each one of these things reflects the reason that your character has decided to abandon their life for this itinerant lifestyle of being an interstellar outlaw, and comes with a couple things. There are 5 questions that you kind of answer 2 of during character creation that kind of act as hooks for you into the world. It's backstory generation, creating factions or people, creating personality traits, or kind of informing what has happened to you that has made you the person you are. If you answer one of these questions during play, you gain a point of blues. And you can answer the same question multiple times if we feel like it makes sense. The other thing that comes with each trouble is that there are a set of 3 prompts which will give you a blues if you act in a certain way or have a certain behavior. The example from On the Run, you might gain blues when you evade a problem instead of fighting it, when you see your pursuers when they're not there, or you abandon someone to escape, right? And that creates a way of playing for that kind of character. The reason that you want these blues is that Orbital Blues is not a game where your experience points are earned from killing monsters or fighting enemies or going on quests. You get experience points for being sad. And if your sadness reaches a certain level, normally 8, your trouble begins to brew. And what that means is that you try to confront the source of the thing that makes you really sad and do something about it as a cowboy. This will end up with a scene of some kind where you try to confront your trouble, assuage your blues, something like that. It might be a violent confrontation or a verbal one. You might have a depressive or a manic episode, indulge in a vice, or just sit there and wallow in the blues. Whatever happens, you basically get a couple of bonuses during the scene, and you're less likely to get killed. And then you level up, basically. So the way you get more powerful in this game is by spending a really long time brooding and then having a bad reaction to how you feel. Normally in this game, your troubles would be brewing at 8. We're doing a one-shot, and it's probably going to be quite a short one-shot. I reckon, I don't know how exactly long we're going to play, but I'd say it will be between 2 hours and 2.5 hours, probably, at the absolute upside, just because it's quite late for me in the UK. It's a Sunday night and I'm quite tired. So we'll see how long we go for. That's one of the things about being people. I'm going to say instead of 8, you guys need to get to 5 for your troubles to brew. So there's a bit of a challenge there. If you can somehow work out a way to get that many blues points in the course of the amount of time we've got, then you might be able to use that level up ritual a little bit earlier. which this is a recommendation I kind of pass on to people for one shots. Set the target as 4 if you definitely want someone to be able to do it in your game. Set it as 5 if you want it to be a challenge. Set it at 6 if you want to really make it quite difficult. But in one session, I've never seen a player get to 8 across running like quite a lot of this game over the last 2 years. I'm sure it's possible, but you'd probably have to be quite on the nose and really sad, and no one would like hanging around with you. So that's the main explanation for how the game works. There's a bunch of other mechanics, like I said, to do with spaceship combat and enemies and money that we probably won't be able to get into in the length of session we are going for, but we'll see how much we manage to get done. That's everything from me for the game. That's the main rules change I've made to make a better one-shot. I think it's time for everybody to go around and tell us a bit about your characters. Any volunteers to go first?
Why don't we get Dove or Sterling to go first? Because I feel like this is going to be the heart of what we're up to in some ways.
Oh boy. Well, Dove should start then.
Yeah, all right. Just character intros.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your character.
Cool. Okay. I'm playing Deckard Dove. He, him pronouns. The arm. Mostly grit, a little muscle, very low savvy. Weapon? Baseball bat.
It's a classic for a reason.
It is a classic. My trouble is lost it all on the river. You gotta play the hand that life gives you. You love to gamble, and you never fold. Which old friend saw me lose big? Sterling did. Matt's character. What's the most I ever lost? It was 500,000, and I lost it to Sterling, which is why me and Sterling have Deckard, Sterling, and Jobson associates. Now, you might be asking, who's Jobson? Jobson is my equipment, an android integrated with the ship. Whenever we're outside of the ship and we introduce ourselves and somebody asks, where's Jobson? I say, he's at the office.
Late nights, working hard.
Exactly. Burning the midnight oil. Jobson. Man of the people.
Heart and soul of the firm.
Absolutely. Couldn't do it without him. My gambit is unstoppable, so I'm just super gritty. I grit like absolute crazy. And yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up with me.
Yeah, so I can kind of follow on that. I'm playing Sterling, just one name. He, him, the survivor. Most of my skills are in savvy, little bit of grit, no muscle. I think kind of the dynamic that we're going for is the classic, Deckard is the big guy. I'm just a little guy. And playing into that. Yeah, just a little birthday boy. It's not my birthday. That's just that, the tweet. But my trouble is yellow bellied, so I'm a coward. They called you a coward. Worst is they ain't wrong. And I think the $500,000 that Deckard lost, I have also lost at some point. So now we kind of, flip from here to there, doing a bit as I think the nature of the work that Deckard, Sterling, and Jobson do changes from time to time. But I think right now we're a fake law firm, maybe like injury attorneys or something is the bit that we're pulling right now. Weapon, for a while I was thinking hand cannon, but hearing Quinn talk about the bat, I think I have to like lean into the old giant bomb bit and just be like, well, I've got a knife, knife or bat, which one's better? So only time will tell. But I think that's me.
Which ability did you go with, Matt?
Oh, I went with lucky. I think is
lucky.
Where we are right now. So nothing better than a lucky coward.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get 2 guns. You think you get a melee weapon and a ranged weapon, don't you?
Okay,
you do.
There we go.
Oh, so you can have a gun and a knife because I'm such a generous games master.
Thank you so much. I will need both of those.
A nice revolver because.
Yeah. I'm 90% sure that's how that works.
I mean, that's what the rule book says.
Oh, I missed
Yeah, well.
Oh, I just can't read.
Oh, no. Characters start play with 1 melee weapon and 1 ranged weapon. Tony, you've gone with tooled up, remember?
I thought it was one melee and 1 range. Is that not what it says?
I'm reading one melee weapon or one range weapon.
Oh,
So I got my
well,
own
I'm
rule.
reading the same thing.
That just means I just misread it. That's all that means.
My bad. Sorry, I can't believe I promised you a knife and a gun.
Well, I lost the gun. I guess is
feel,
what
I
happened.
really feel like it. Yeah, along with the $500,000, which
There
to
you
be
go.
honest, like after inflation, that's probably not that much in the far future.
No.
You know. Yeah. Okay, Tony, Mark, which one? Who's going next?
I'll go. I'm playing Eli Morgan, he, him. Eli Morgan is the face. Also got high savvy, a little bit of grit. And Eli, his trouble is he's in too deep. He got involved with the wrong people and did things I ain't proud of. There's a bunch of questions about who and what, but I think I'm going to go with the how did you wriggle free and are you off the hook question. I think the wriggle free is just fucked off, just like took off and got out of town, off planet, out of system, and I'm absolutely not off the hook. But the other one is which old friend would help me with something illegal if I asked nicely. His name's Eddie Jett. Haven't nailed down who or what that is, but that's that. Has a 9mm pistol just in case. And I think he's somewhat of a con man, which makes my gambit really fun, which is heart of gold. I'm known for my honesty and good intentions, and when I speak meaningfully from the heart, I get upper hand. So I'm gonna play with that.
That sounds very useful for a con man if you weren't like constantly lying to people.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Tony,
Awesome.
let's hear it.
Yeah, I am playing Ricky Levers Levon. I am like a probably a good 6'4", have to kind of turn a little sideways as I walk through a door. Ostensibly the ship's mechanic. I do carry a comically oversized wrench with me at pretty much all time, along with some other tools and bobs around my belt and person. Huge muscles in a vest. Fairly intimidating individual, but whenever you see my my quarters, like it is pretty sparse and Spartan, except for there in the corner is a series of pictures with a pink-haired individual. With me, it's very evident to anybody else in the pictures that I am far more into this person than they are into me. And this is obviously some sort of shrine to this individual. Because I am lovesick is my trouble. I met Stella when I was on a job. We ended up across from each other, and I went to go come around the corner and hit somebody who was there with my wrench. Turned the corner and just froze, totally enamored with the person in front of me. They giggled a little bit and then stun batoned me. I passed out and woke up absolutely smitten. The other question I am going to answer, which is besides how did we first meet, is when did you realize it was over? And I think the answer is I have not. Like, it is very clear to everyone else that it is over, except for me. So Levers is very unaware that his love has left him. He thinks they're just having to spend some time apart due to work right now.
No.
Okay, right. So, everyone, we've done some characters. Let's make a spaceship, gang. Okay,
Hell yeah.
First things first. I've got the master list here of Orbital Blue's spaceship names rather than the 100 in the core book. Why doesn't somebody give me a number between 1 and 4? Between 575 is my total number. I've been really busy not writing the book and instead writing spaceship names.
Let's do 360. Just
360. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll grab this, and then we'll pick 2 more, and we'll decide which one we like the most. So we've had 360. What's the next selection?
147.
147. Okay, and then one more.
What about 222?
222, classic repeating number. Okay, so the first one, this is written by my friends at My First Dungeon. I was not able to write all of these. Is Out to Lunch. Is the name of the first spaceship. Our second option is the Baton Rouge. And then the third one, also taken from the My First Dungeon section of the list, is the Fire Hazard. Which one are we going to go with?
I will say, maybe it's just because of my gambling thing, but also like there's something I like the Baton Rouge.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I do too, but I also feel like with the law firm bit, the out to lunch is very, very solid.
The question is whether the ship counts as our office or not. I'm gonna kick this to Matt. I wanna know what Matt.
Well, I almost see our office as kind of like Peanuts. You know, Lucy has the booth that she sets up. I think that's kind of what our deal is. So
out to lunch then.
I like that one. I like them all, though.
Yeah, the out to lunch. Let's do that then.
Works for me.
Perfect. Right, the journey of the crew of the Out for Lunch. Thank you very much, the crew from My First Dungeon, for writing that particular spaceship name. I got into a discussion at Gen Con, and I gave someone my business. I gave several people while at a whiskey bar my business card with the instruction to send me more spaceship names, and then Brian sent me 500 of them.
Wow.
You know, to be clear, that's not the. Only about 200 of them are going in the book, so it wasn't all of them, but the rest is. We have too many spaceships, and they're now there's a stretch goal for us to put them all in a spaceship generator, so that'll be good. Okay, let's find out some stuff about the Out for Lunch. Right, I'm going to roll some dice for you because there's a couple of different tables here. Okay, so this was a gambler's barge, which is interesting to know. This used to be used as a treasure, like a casino in space, which probably speaks to its quality. Who owns the ship out of the four of you, or do you own it together?
I certainly don't.
Yeah,
I do not.
I guess I do.
Well, good news. You found it in a junk heap. Who throw this pile of rubbish away? So yeah, we found the Out to Lunch on a spaceship. That's in a junkyard.
Love it.
Okay, does someone want to roll me a D6? Tell us a bit about the chassis of the spaceship.
On it. That's a 4.
Cool. It's intimidating. It's a bulky vessel. A gambler's barge found in a junk heap. That's charming. What weapon does it have? Someone give me a D6.
A 3.
You got a pulse laser. Personal and precise. That's just some tags that the weapons have. Personal means it's not a military weapon that's likely to get you stopped if you bring it anywhere. And let's grab one additional feature. One more D6, please.
2.
Cool. We have an onboard AI. Callous, if not resourceful. And that is probably your law firm partner.
Yeah, Jobson.
There we go.
Yeah. Jobson. Okay, right. That's the Out to Lunch.
Love it.
Finally, we need to generate some stats for it. The spaceship has systems, mobility, and body. One of those is going to be +2. One of them is going to be +1. One of them is going to be 0. What do we reckon, gang?
I feel like mobility is going to be the lowest one.
Yeah, if it's a gambling barge.
Given the description, that feels apt.
Yeah.
So then it's probably got body, right? Because you said it's intimidating.
Intimidating, yeah.
Body
Body is good.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay. Systems 1, mobility 0, body 2. Fantastic.
Perfect.
Right. I'm just typing this in the old chat.
I like that the systems
Sure.
are one because like if it's a gambling barge, like they have a lot of computers
Mhm.
to like keep the numbers crunching.
Mhm.
But they're
Yeah.
very focused numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've now generated the spaceship. That's all good. Let me tell you a bit about the adventure. So the adventure we're playing, for those of you at home, is 160 acres. I don't know how visible this is going to be for my face.
Looks good.
And this was going to be reversed, so I don't know why I bother with that. It's written by myself and then two of my longtime collaborators, Mol Jewel and Nick Spence. We wrote it together in an evening once. If you want to get a copy of this adventure or play along at home, you can find it on the Soul Muppet website. But the best way to get it is to sign up to our mailing list, and then we'll give you a free code for the adventure, so you can download it and watch along at home or run it yourself. Has anyone played this adventure by any chance? And has anybody played Orbital Blues before? Just checking.
No,
I have
I've been
played
wanting to.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Been a
was
while.
there are numerous people who offered to kill their friends in order to play on this stream. And these are the three people who killed their friends better than anybody else. And so,
That's always good to hear. Okay, so
What do you think? What do you think this sausage I've been eating is made out of?
Oh no.
oh,
good for. Okay,
It's
so
plants, actually, it's a veggie sausage.
so this system, this is a planet that is called. Let me grab a name from the book because I didn't write it down. So the planet is called Fresno, which is a fantastic thing. If you ever want to come up with a name for a thing, just pick a place in America, and that's probably something that would work in Orbital Blues.
It's so funny to say that because I definitely remember trying to name some fantasy cities once, and I was just like, "What are towns named in the UK?" And I just like looked at random towns and I'm like, "Oh, these are all great."
yeah.
So I'm glad that it works the other way.
So one of the secrets that I use is how I work out what's happening with the cowboys in Inevitable, which is the other game that I ran on +1 EXP back in April, like a fantasy western.
Oh, you did
the way I
Inevitable?
came up.
That game is so cool.
Thank you. So all the characters are all the player character names I chose by looking at streets in the UK and going, that's a name. And then just plucking them all out and maybe swapping a couple of letters around. But like, I basically went through all of the cities that I've lived in, and all the places I've been to where my friends live, and gone, oh, I'll grab that name, and I made like 250 spaceship names 250 names in an hour looking at Google Maps. It's the fastest I've ever made a random table. And when it came to doing the same thing for Orbital Blues, when I was like, I need some random names for this table, I just looked at street names in America and like basically went through like, what are the names of all the big streets in Chicago? They're all suitable mono names for cowboys. So
that's rad.
It's a technique. So yeah, if you ever need a name for a role-playing game, just go on Google Maps and find the names that people use in real life, because that'll be more interesting than giving somebody a name with too many Y's in it. For sure.
Lord knows.
So, on the planet Fresno, there is a settlement called Cattle Down. Everyone knows about VTX World Makers. They are one of the largest mega corporations in the galaxy, and they are experts in not only terraforming but also astroforming. Right? What they realized quickly on and early on in their business career is that it's really expensive to terraform an entire planet, especially if the main problem with it is that it's just a couple of million kilometers outside of the Goldilocks zone for life, right? It's too close to the sun or too far away. Who needs to move a planet when you can just chuck a couple of super heavy isotopes in a star and cool the star down slightly? You know? What could possibly go wrong with that process? So
5 blown up solar systems later.
Yeah, but this is one of the techniques that world makers do in colonizing the galaxy and making sure that all these beautiful new colonized systems already. And Fresno is the place where they grab all of these super heavy isotopes to do the astroforming. They've decided to deal with this planet and get all the people off it because it's really annoying having all these civilians around when they're trying to do these terraforming operations. So what's happening at the moment is that um, they're trying to force everyone out of this frontier town and get everyone to go home. You guys have ended up here on a bit of a travel, but there's a number of things to poke here, particularly because there's rumors that somebody's been stealing isotopes from the factory, which means that somewhere in this dusty backwater town called Cattledown, there is a Pulp Fiction briefcase worth of astroforming material, and if you can find it, that'd surely pay off your debts for a couple months, right? So good luck. But there's lots of things to be done here, lots of ways to interact with the various factions. I think I'm just going to start you down on the spaceport and then see where we go from there.
Okay.
Sure.
Cool.
Works for me.
Let's take a little break, grab some water, and then we'll get started with the game, I think.
Yeah, good idea.
Sweet.
Sounds good. All right, we're gonna take a short little 5-minute break. We are playing we're playing Orbital Blues Adventure. Check out the new Afterburn expansion that's live right now over at ttrpg.link/afterburnks. We'll be back in just one moment. And we are back again here playing Orbital Blues. We've just got to the spaceport after meeting our characters, building our ship, and we're ready to explore this place that we find ourselves in Fresno. The Fresno spaceport is where we're at.
Yeah, so you're on the planet of Fresno in some backwater system in the middle of nowhere for this mining planet. This is a dusty, unpleasant place. Air is breathable, but not rich, and it's very arid and horrible. There are salt flats in every direction around you, along with a couple of like mesas and horrid-looking rocky outcroppings. It feels like when in Breaking Bad, the sepia filter is on when they go to Mexico. That is where we are right now. You find yourselves at the charmingly named Landing Facility Gamma 9. It's a pristine but soulless prefabricated spaceport dropped in straight out of orbit, landed, and then left here. It's got a you've landed here. It's kind of quiet though, to be honest. And there's all the things you'd expect in this kind of spaceport. There's a lobby that will have like, a vending machine, a bounty board, communications facility, so you can call off world if you need, and then like timetables for the buses, the space bus or whatever, that will come every couple days to take you to other planets in the system. But it seems really dead and very soulless. I
do need to know what a bouncy board is, because I have no idea.
A bounty board?
Yeah,
of course.
Bounty. I thought you said bouncy. I heard B-O-U.
I did too.
I was like, a bouncy board
here in Fresno.
I was like, is that a fun space Britishism? I don't know. Bounty board.
No.
Got
sorry.
it.
I mean, the UK is not that exciting. No.
Got it.
It's a bounty board. Sorry.
Bounty board.
And as you are settling down, there you see as you land the ship. What does the ship look like? Like, what's the vibe of the
unwieldy
of the outer lunge?
It's a giant gold colored pyramid.
Yes,
the giant block of
yeah. I mean, as an ex-space casino, there's no other real shape that this thing could take.
There's definitely missing
if
panels and exposed wire.
The idea. It's not a. What if it's not a pyramid? What if it's like a diamond?
Or like an octagon. Yeah.
I mean, I'm down with any sort of brutalist like shape that we want to create. Like when you're zoomed out a little bit, like it looks fairly smooth, and then you zoom in and it's like ridged and weird and all kinds of crap sticking off of it.
Exactly.
But it's all just been painted gold. Like the one thing that we could afford as we were rebuilding this thing was just tons of gold colored space paint.
I also like the idea that it's the diamond shape, because the fun thing about that is like, okay, how do you land this thing?
Right.
Do we like turn it sideways so it's sitting on one of the faces?
I think.
Or is it on the point?
Oh no! I think what it is that it's. Hold on, let me get my scale model. Okay, so I think what happens is we orient it sideways, and then little landing gear, flaps come out.
I
like that.
So like we come out of a little thing on the base point because it's closest to the ground, but there are 4 landing telescope outputs.
Yeah, and they are
so
they
broken.
Have so much weight on them. Like it's a ship that really was never supposed to land. It
is a ship for which landing was a secondary
exactly.
Tertiary.
Exactly.
Okay,
So we have
that.
to maintain them so much, and they're just like really expensive to fix.
Lots of moving parts.
Exactly. They have to extend so far.
So after we go through the lengthy landing procedure, which
Yeah,
is like
I was,
trying to
I-
parallel
it's
park,
really
but
helpful because
15
that
times
bought me
worse.
some incredibly helpful time
Yeah,
to
and-
find a random name generator.
Also,
Uh,
I am 100% the ship's mechanic, but my way of fixing things is literally hitting them with this wrench. And so like it is like, okay, extend the legs, but I've got to make my way around to each leg and
Yeah.
bang on different parts of it until
you
each
have
one
to
has fully
imagine-
extended.
You have to imagine like Jobson does a lot of the essential maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause,
Oh
like,
yeah,
the rest
for
of us
sure.
can't be
I'm
fucked.
essentially
Yeah.
just
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Jobson's hands whenever they can't do something.
Okay,
God-
yeah.
God
So you
bless.
guys land the spaceship. You go through all the normal landing procedures, and then after you've done that, as you sort of the landing, all the equipment comes out, and then the door opens into the spaceship. You find at the bottom of the ramp a sort of like tanned, slightly weaselly-looking young guy, late teens, early 20s. He sort of says, "Hey, Mister, how you? What brings you to Fresno?"
Which of us is he talking to when he says Mister?
Just or the group of
We're
you
just
as one of
Mister.
Yeah, I guess
whoever's
who's
on
who's down
the
the
ramp.
ramp first? Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, whoever goes down the ramp.
I imagine Eli would probably be out to put a good
The
face
face,
on everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
Did we decide like before we landed like why we're here? Or we just kind of like stopped for?
Well, we're tracking down the briefcase with the
Yeah.
with the isotopes.
I imagine you've probably stopped for gas, but you
Yeah,
know,
Mm. Oh, I see.
the eventually there's things here to be hooked into, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay,
Gotcha.
all right.
Yeah. I think Eli just said, "Oh, we're stopping to refuel and taking some of the sites."
Oh, of course. Yeah. Do you need a help with the refueling rig? I'm kind of like
Absolutely.
the guy around here for
What was your name?
Cooper, sir.
Cooper.
Mhm.
Well, if you're
yeah,
the man for the job, then you're the man for the job.
Yeah, it's good to see people landing here. You know, we normally most of the locals they tend to go out in the desert. To be honest, they don't like it here. But you know, we do good trade for off-worlders such as yourselves, and it's all good. He's like looking at the ship, this sort of like weird brutalistic expression that goes, where do we plug it in?
That's what we need. That's why we need the help. We can't find it ourselves.
Honestly, there's a bunch of different little bits and bobs and gauges. We usually just pick one and hope that that's the right one.
Jobson usually takes care of that part for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's all good. Well, I'll grab the fueling bits. You guys need any repairs? We've got some maintenance folks or stuff. Like it'll cost you same as the fuel.
Now
Nate
she's in
and
great shape, I
are
say,
able to pay for.
as something actively falls off the ship.
We got our guy.
He looks at you kind of like, yeah, okay. Well,
It's
if you wanted
designed to
stay
do
in
that.
town, of course, yeah, of course. Well, there's over in town. If you folks want to stay a while I do this refueling for you, there's a saloon. It's called the Strawberry Roan, and
You guys play any cards in there?
oh yeah, absolutely. A ton of poker tables, yeah, and
Ah.
whiskey from
Alright.
across the quadrant. If you speak to old Jim Rorchigal there, he'll sort you right out. And obviously, there's consignment store that will get you anything you need. It's the cheap, high quality goods provided to us via the patrons of the place of ETX World Makers, who run the factory facility 01 over yonder, and they'll sort you out of anything there. And if there's anything that they won't stock in a corporate store, maybe if you go over to odds and ends, then good old Harry will serve you. But you should all be good. And obviously you need to stay somewhere. You don't fancy spend the night of the bunkier shift. Strawberry Roan's got some beds and such and rooms that I'm sure enterprising folk like yourselves will be able to afford. But I'll go and he sort of starts to move away to grab the sort of fuel hose and sort the. So he's giving you a couple leads. You go to the saloon. There is a sort of like general consignment store you can head to, And then there's also supposedly some like slightly dodgy bodega that you might be able to find some other stuff. Immediately looking out from here, you can also see the skyline dominated by this big glass steel tower that is by far the biggest building in the middle of town. It looks like clean and glassy and like it's made of steel and like nice, and everything else here kind of doesn't look like that. And then at the other end of town there is a this big imposing brutalist mine, facility 01 he called it, and that is kind of like this huge horrid blocky brutalist building on the other side of town. But yeah,
definitely ask Cooper what's the deal with the shiny tower.
That's a Kaki Masa Tower. That's just it's named after the chairman of VTX. It's just offices, for the corporations and stuff. Obviously VTX has a presence there, and then anywhere else big around here, Mahara, Eden Court, Coela Galactic, like other places. No, it's all corporate types. There's nothing for.
Naturally.
Not they probably won't let you in, to be honest. It's but no hard feelings, obviously. Just yeah. And he's started like poking parts of your spaceship, looking for holes to put this standard fuel compactor into. Eventually, he pokes one panel, and then a panel like 2 or 3 feet away, like falls right out.
Yeah.
And then there's the standard fuel attacher there. Goes, oh yeah, in here. And then he like lugs up the hose, like, in, pulls it, like, and he seems to be filling it with fuel.
I think that's a new record for finding the fuel port. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that quick.
Pure luck.
It would have to be.
I'm gonna go over and check the bounty board. Because I am also convinced that that Stella, my paramour, anytime a new bounty is posted for them, I am convinced that is a message to me on where I should find them next. So I'm gonna go see if there are any bounties that have popped up for them recently.
Yeah, Sterling goes
go
over
with you just to make sure that I'm not on it.
Oh, well, I go just to make it, it's like the how you doing, bud? Like to kind of, we have to, I think as a group, we've decided we have to keep an eye on Ricky when it comes to Stella, just so that I think bad decisions have been made in the past. And it's like, it's just the kind of, all right, is the ex-girlfriend in town this week? Like, do we need to go on a hike somewhere else?
Yeah.
Give me a hot minute while I check my physical bounty board.
It's also great because I do think you also know from doing this numerous times that whether there is a bounty or not, I'm going to be sad afterward.
Yeah.
You like it either way, man. Sterling.
Yeah. What's up, buddy?
Saloon, pick up some Max.
Yeah, sure. I've got some business cards we can hand out. Let's see if there's any class action lawsuits that we can spin up before we leave.
Rip it. Yeah, so I think that's probably what me and Sterling are up to. Is we're gonna do some minor crimes.
Yeah. Can you hustle? Do you know? Is that it? Well, I guess
you're the hustler.
Dice will
I'm the
tell us if we
muscler.
can hustle. Okay, there we go.
Cool. So you can see a bunch of bounties on the bounty board. It's like nothing new or particularly exciting. There's a bounty for someone who stole a spaceship called Johanna's Park. That's a level 2 warning, so it's like a 2 credit bounty. And then obviously all the normal ones you're expecting, there's a guy called Cass Kinyenko who's wanted for a gang shooting the next system over who's got a level 5 bounty on his head, which is like a pretty huge one. But none of them seem like there's nothing like last seen on this planet. Like, this is not a. This place is a bit weird because it's not a big enough place to hide, but it's also not an off the beaten track enough place to go missing, right? So it's kind of not exactly golden zone for bounty hunting.
Yeah.
No, I think
okay, so
I think when I see that there's somebody who stole a spaceship, I remember the time that we stole a spaceship together, and
God damn it.
it makes me miss them a lot.
there's one bounty for a guy called Mayhew Hopkins. That is like a bounty for like corporate evasion and gunslinging, which sort of like rings a bit of a bell. And it's like, you look at that's like a famous old bounty, and you don't know why it's showing up here. Like you that's like a classic from the boards that you see for years, and it's unusual that you'd see it crop up. But that's another like 4 credit bounty. So it's not as big as the guy who did like the gang shooting, but it's a pretty big one. So I'll just write those down for you so you got access to them. But the 3 that I just mentioned, I just need to grab my screen in the right place just so it goes in the chat we've got running in the background, guys.
I guess it wasn't meant to be today.
It's all right, buddy.
He'll 10 up. Probably.
Sooner or later. And I mean, like, would it be
and if
the
not,
worst if they didn't?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean,
There's
they're
something to think
they're
about.
probably waiting on me wherever they are, and I just don't want them to get held up, on my
Sure.
account.
I'll tell you this from the hat. They're lucky to have someone like you.
Mm-hmm. We all are.
Okay. Right. Sorry that took a little bit longer. I had to go to. There's no bounties for this adventure, and there would be for one of the longer ones if there was a bounty board in here. So I've had to improvise some slight shenanigans here. One of the pieces of art in Orbital Blues is a bounty board that I've plucked some bits from so that it's usable in the adventure. But yeah, okay. So you said you guys are going to go to the saloon, yeah? Strawberry Roan?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Cool. So you head down the high street. You walk past Kakimasa Tower. Indeed, God, yeah, that is corporate, and you're definitely not allowed in. It looks slick. There's a couple of corporate security guards out front, and there's not tons of them, but it's like 2 guys with 2 well-armed looking dudes in flak armor, so you wouldn't want to give it a go. And the main building you walk past is that, and then you kind of head into the Strawberry Rowan. It's swollen with sad and drunken patrons, even at this early hour of the afternoon. It's like got a sort of it's got a it's full of poker tables, and there seems to be like a big collection of whiskey on the far side. You sort of get a couple of dirty looks from the patrons, like, who are these guys? Like, what's going on here? And that kind of is broken off pretty quickly because you notice a beautiful dog, a border collie, in fact, runs up to you and starts like jumping at your knees, wants to like lick your hands if it's available. Beautiful dog. And this sort of slightly elder, skinny fellow runs over like, oh no, Crumpet, leave the poor people alone, and kind of like pulls her back and kind of sends her off to the other corner. He sort of says, Hey, gents, how you doing? New to town?
Yep, just pulled in.
Oh, it's good.
Beautiful dog, by the way. Beautiful dog.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, gorgeous
Crampet
dog.
is we love her around here. You know, most of the folks around here they joke they'd willingly die for her, and you know they come back and they keeps them buying whiskey. Works for me. I'm Jim. This is my saloon. If you need anything, let me know. Well, what brings you to Kettledown?
Well, we're pretty thirsty, so let's start off with a bottle. How about that?
Oh, that sounds like a really good plan, my friends. And he sort of head back to the bar, grabs you a table, pulls out some glasses from behind. They look really clean, definitely super clean, and then puts them down on the table. Grabs you a bottle of what looks to be quite cheap whiskey, and then sort of plonks it down. He sort of says, "Yeah, gives you a number of reasonable credits for a thing," and then sort of says, "Yeah, well, yeah." Well, glad you folks are here, and if you need anything, yeah, ask around. Lots of folks here, you know, a bunch of them are out of work, but you know, it's what happens when these corporations. It's fine. You fellas enjoy your evening, and then he kind
Would
of
you
like,
say? Would you say that there's anyone here that's entitled to financial compensation?
Wrongful termination, perhaps? Has there been some sort of corporate malfeasance?
This in mine. Anyone been injured on the job?
he kind of looks at the two of you like, who are these? You guys lawyers?
I pop a business card out of the shirt pocket and say that we are. You have a very good eye, sir. You are just as perceptive as you are friendly. We are Deckard, Sterling, and Jobson, traveling lawyers, here to represent those who have been kind of ground up in the machine of corporate. Well, I was going to say corporate America, but corporate the systems.
Yeah. Well, you fellas might have come at the right time for that.
You don't say.
You I don't want to talk to you about that, but like me and VTX get on very well. You know, no problems here at my end. But you know, there's a.
But if there were problems, kind of it would be, you know, if you were going to point in a direction where there weren't problems, and then kind of, you know, maybe a direction where there are problems, you know, with the other hand, well, VTX isn't looking.
You absolutely. That's not the speed I operate on, my friend.
Cool.
You head to the factory. There's a guy called Raya, Mr. McSchiff. McSchiff. The I in this font is very small, guys. I was like, Mr. McSchuff? That really does remind me of the one of the jokes I used to use is that you always seen that scene of the images of the random names generated for that Japanese 90s baseball game, like fake
McMichael.
American names. That's the space that Orbital Blues naming operates in. So in that case, Raya McSchiff is like absolutely a fake baseball name and thus works beautifully in the realm of Orbital Blues. Yeah, so this guy kind of he says, yeah, if you speak to Mr. McSchiff, he's one of the foremen at the factory. He's definitely got some, you know, union, you know, union porn, you know. Sure, he's got some people there who'd be interested in speaking to some lawyers, especially if they were, pardon me saying, cheap and sleazy, which the pair of you two seem to be.
You've got a number, sir.
What a discerning eye you have.
Yeah. What a move. Yeah. But one thing here, Quinn, there's a lot of poker tables here. There's a couple guys really playing some. There's some, those three old men in every bar who are playing cards. Those guys are right over there, and they look really old and really unemployed.
Probably really bad at cards.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any reason for me not to. I think that's a good way to pop me out of the spotlight for a bit and let some other folks do some fun stuff. I'm gonna be like, well, seems like we have a plan of action. I'm gonna go beyond the tables. Let me know when you find something. I go over there and I start losing, baby.
Oh yeah. So yeah, there's three old guys. They're playing cards. Their names are Hob, Kane, and Ricky, and they do indeed start being you at cards the moment you start playing, pretty much.
Beautiful.
So apart from drinking your bottle of whiskey, you're going to try to speak to any more folks in this place? Like Jim's shown himself out. He seems to be, what he's alluded to, and you can hear a couple people moaning about, is that VTX seem to be buying up all the land and getting everyone who doesn't own them in the town out of town. So there's a bunch of folk here with businesses they forced under, and a couple of other folks like that. There also seems to be this one guy sitting right at the bar, gal, you're not really sure. He looks like an old cowboy. Like the rest of the folks here seem to be real like bums, but this person seems to be an interstellar outlaw in a way. You can look at them, like the bearing, there's under the coat there's sort of a gun on the hip, and you can tell that, and sort of you can see them drinking in the corner, and yeah, that's going on in there. You got the guys playing cards, people losing cards. You can try to get a bit more information about Jim. You can speak to some of the other workers, and yeah, you do hear over the time you're drinking your whiskey this rumor about the someone like comes and says, you here hunting for the briefcase, and that's where you hear the thing I mentioned earlier, that supposedly there's this like briefcase full of super heavy isotopes that is lurking around somewhere, that you're going to have to maybe find. And you also hear another rumor that there's a gang of some kind, two hired toughs working for the head of VTX on the planet, whose name is Parlia. And whenever any of the people in this bar speak about Parlia, they like spit on the ground after saying a name, because you're like, oh, it makes you dirty in the mouth, yeah.
I a couple of drinks in, like plop myself down next to the very obvious, but I have not actually observed this outlaw. I just think everybody else is giving them a fairly wide berth, but like
that's where I was headed.
That person needs a friend.
Lovers has no idea what's going on here. And so like I just plop myself down and go, you don't look like you're from here.
You don't either.
I'm not.
What are you drinking? We can top you up.
Whiskey.
I just pour some out of the bottle. We have it into his cup.
Happy to share. My
Thanks,
name's
mister.
Eli
Drinks you a
Morgan.
bit of a glass.
Without a hand to shake.
Give me a second. My name's Hop.
Oh, nice to meet you.
You fellas drifters, outlaws?
What? No.
Labels are so confining.
Yeah. I know what you mean when you say that. Well, yeah, thanks for the drink.
Yeah.
She takes another sip.
What's
Yeah. Business
what's
or
the
pleasure?
whole? Yeah, what's the sitch here?
It's the corp, like corps do. They want to buy the place so they can make more money. Ain't that complex? People been here a while, gonna have to leave if they don't want to work for the company.
So are you
And
buying or
nobody
selling?
really does. Sorry?
Are you buying or selling?
Oh, me? I'm just drinking, buddy.
Hmm.
Now
Smart
I'm
man.
gonna stay here for as long as I can. Keep my head down, and when they buy the little hut I live in, ask me to go, I'll take that money and go drink somewhere else.
Get it? Just
Ain't too
keeping
complex.
your head down.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I can sympathize with
You know.
that.
that's it. You know, for all the folks here, people are in the local business. Jim here's in a lot of debt. She points at Portugal, the Portugal rather, the barman. It's like when they buy him out, he'll be doing fine. But most of the folks here ain't got much. But you're willing to buy the script from the consignment store here. It does you fine. Food's cheap, whiskey's cheaper, no rent, and they'll buy my flat when I'm done. Could be much worse.
Yeah,
Sounds
looks
like
like
a
it
good
has
deal.
been. Yeah.
Yeah. You folks want money, right? That's the energy.
Who doesn't?
I mean, you got to have some.
Most of the folks around here too proud to go asking the corp for work. But you show up, couple of slick looking, suited booted cowboys, she'll find something for you to do. Maybe go looking for this briefcase she's missing. She'll definitely sort you out. But obviously, I don't know how much you guys like licking boot. I certainly didn't in my time.
Matt, were you over there?
Oh, I was just going to say Sterling is in the corner loudly using the phrase imminent domain a bunch of times. And it's clear he does not know what it means. But someone is listening and nodding.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't think this is the kind of place where the guys here know what imminent domain means, don't we?
Perfect.
But yeah, absolutely. That's what's happening.
But what are you telling them it means? That's my real question.
Well, I'm telling them this is their ticket to a better payout. If they can have someone who is an expert on the field of imminent domain, such as myself and my associate, who I think
you hear a cheer go up from the poker table as I have lost again.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably as Dove is swearing.
Yeah, you hear it really loud, like "fuck."
Yeah. So I've got like a small crowd. I think that I'm trying to convince we can help them out, but no clue what's going on over there. I'm disconnected.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So
that's Mayhew's piece.
Yeah. This guy. So he introduced himself as Hop. Does he vaguely match the description of Mayhew Hopkins, or is he?
I mean, the age is right. That's a gunslinger you're looking at. If you fancy a shot at a nice big bounty, maybe, yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I want to start there, but we might end there. No, I think I kind of tuck it away as a mental note. If we can't find any, if we can't wrestle up any safer work, that there's at least an option that we have.
Yeah.
So, we just keep on drinking.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna meander I'm gonna meander over. I have now lost all of my poker money, and I'm just gonna sit down at the bar and start drinking Eli's whiskey.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to. Ricky, we'll get another bottle, walk over to the bar, and say, like, maybe we should talk to Parlier. Was it who was looking to get the briefcase? I'm not super interested in working for a corporation, but if we get our hands on the briefcase, there's no saying we can't just leave with it, sell it off somewhere else.
Sounds worth it to me.
I mean, it's an option if we can't, if y'all can't find a good couple of cases. I guess we could always go looking after the briefcase.
Well, Sterling,
Yeah.
come here.
You run out of money again? You need some? Yeah. Do you need?
Well, that's not what we're not talking about that.
You sure?
We can talk. It's later. Listen, you've been setting out hooks. We got any bites?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone was saying the same thing. I think we've got to go over to the mine and talk to the union guy. It seems like maybe in addition to the eminent domain, there's some right to work stuff going on, but I don't really know what the regulations are here in Fresno. I think our best bet is going to be probably this case is going to be our best bet for now. But our name is out there. Our card is there. When the time is right, I think we can collect.
You've given out, by saying the word eminent domain a couple times, you've gotten rid of like 4 or 5 cards over the course of the day.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely some toothless old whiskey drinking geezers who would appreciate your custom.
Sweet.
All right, so we're saying long term.
I think we can circle back to this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Seems like it's the case then.
Cool. So you finish your second bottle of whiskey between the 4 of you rather, minus a little bit of hop, and then you head out to Kakimasa Tower, which is where you expect, where the VTX officers are going to be. You're met by 2 security guards. Neither of them look particularly menacing. It's you're speaking to Rita and Chase are the names on the badges. You can't tell if they're first names or surnames, but they're clearly, like I said, flak jacketed, well armed security officers. At least, it's not a whole detention like facility where you sort of walk up to it, sort of like, "Hey fellas, what's going on here? You got an appointment?"
Not yet, but we'd like to make one.
No. Who with?
Was it Parley?
Yeah.
I spit after he said.
I do too. I was gonna say I spit.
Yeah. With Mrs. Vacuuman on. Okay. What's it about?
We're a
Business.
investigation and recovery team looking to help with a certain case of theirs.
Oh. About that. Okay. One of them. This is Rita, who's the one that's been talking to you. Pulls out a flip phone, like a sort of slidey thing, and then starts typing in a number, and then heads inside the door. And looks like they're making a call. You wait about a minute, and then she comes out and says, "Yeah, come on through." You're led into these quite slick offices, and into a sort of reception room. There's a couple of different hypercorpos with offices here that mostly seem like dead-end field offices that you wouldn't want anything to do with. Like, on the sort of, there's a floor plan. You can see, like I mentioned earlier, Edenport, Mahara Systems, Queller Intergalactic, which are 3 relatively, like, B-list corporations you've heard of. Of that, Mahara is like the most famous as like a spaceship and communications manufacturer. But there's like 4 of the 6 floors of the place are made up of VTX. So it's kind of quite clear what's happening. You're taken into the elevator, and Rita presses the button, which takes you to floor 5, and says, "I'll be out front. Don't break anything. There's cameras everywhere." And then like heads out to the front and kind of takes you up to the 4th floor. You're met by a secretary, a middle-aged fella, which is a bit odd for a secretary. Doesn't tell you his name, and then like leads you through into this very fancy office on the top floor of this place. Everything in here makes the rest of the entire planet look different. Like, you know, you are no longer in Breaking Bad Mexico. You are now in this kind of like cool toned, blue hued, decorated room, and inside this office, which has a door plate on it that says, Parlia Vecumenon, this is this person's name, Deputy Expansions Director, which is like some fucking gibberish corporate title that you don't really know what it means, but sounds like she's in charge of getting new business. Maybe why she's here. And behind the door is a slick and charismatic suited corpo agent. This is clearly like a sort of she's in her mid-30s, dark skin, slick back hair, kind of tied in a knot at the back, pristine makeup, not beautiful, but quite haughty and like well put together, and without the sort of the blemishes and the dust under the fingernails of most of the people you'd meet in the Outlaw Galaxy. And she sort of says, "Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Ms.
Can I get any of you a drink?"
Yes.
Why, yes.
By the way, that's
Very
what we
generous.
that's what we call a Fresno 8. By the way,
she grabs a whiskey tumbler from on her desk, pulls out 4 glasses from a tray, 5, one for herself as well, and then pours like a finger each of whiskey for you. This is much nicer than what you were drinking in the casino. What should we drink to?
Imminent domain.
Charming. Madam Rita from downstairs said you were in the field of retrievals, was it?
That is correct. We are.
Perfect. Well, I have just the task for someone like that. I assume you folk make your traders bounty hunters and outlaws as well as bad lawyers.
That's 1, 2, and 3, miss.
Yeah. I gather that you've been hearing some of the rumblings. You know, I wasn't going to bring it up, but then you asked, what should we toast to? So just felt it was probably smart to keep you in the loop. You may be getting some amicus briefs from us and things like that.
Amicus brief? What's an amicus brief? I don't know.
You know, that's a good question.
I'm not
you have to talk to our associate counsel.
I'm sure this person knows what an amicus brief is. I do not.
Sterling does
because
not.
I'm not.
I don't either.
Okay.
I just know it's a legal term.
Cool. So it's
Hey,
illegal.
look,
So
any
it's just
questions
filed
regarding
by
the briefs
people
can be
who
directed
typically-
to Jobson.
it's filed by people who typically take the position of one side in a case in the process, supporting a cause that has some bearing on the
Are you on
issue of
Wikipedia?
the case. The group most likely to file an amicus brief are businesses, academics, government entities, and nonprofits or trade associations.
So maybe I was right.
So
Maybe
there's
that
like
was the
actually
way.
a
I mean,
decent
it was a
chance.
meaningfully useful threat using some vague technobabble. She sort of smiles and goes, "Oh, of course. Well, one of my employees has taken matters around this whole deal with the purchases of the town. You understand everyone here is getting paid at a substantial rate above the value of the land as officially valued by the both the local and district government. The mayor is entirely on board, and everyone there. All small businesses in the town have been dissented. Everyone you're speaking to is just dissenters, all that manner.
Sure.
I expect the matter to be resolved by the year, and if you wish to drag out with paperwork, it simply delays the amount of time before we can be able to pay everyone in the town together. When I'm able to get together the set of requisite funds from my head office, and I would like to get this thing out of the way as soon as possible so we can proceed to the next stage of the plans. We already have investment approved for Facility 02, but the town here is positioned directly on top of all of the isotopes we need. She hits you with all the technobabble. It sounds like really convincing legal stuff. She just wants everyone to get out of the way so she can make shitloads of money, which is kind of the vibe of most of these corporate people. But yes, most of my employees are entirely on board with this. They understand the increases of pay and standard of living we'll be able to get once we merge all of the small local businesses into the larger thing as a whole, and are able to facilitate a selection of new luxury condos for everyone living in the area. Blah, blah, blah. But yes, some of my containment cylinder of material for export, mined and processed here at the factory, has seemingly gone missing, and I'm interested in some help from whichever what did you refer to yourself as, retrieval experts I can, to make sure things doesn't get out of hand. I already have a couple of people of your creed and caliber looking around for it. But
Creed maybe, but caliber, I promise you, probably not. I mean, it's not impossible, but just we're pretty good. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big guy.
For you.
Well, I mean, like caliber, because it means like how big.
Oh, that's true.
Right. And okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we're all on the same page here. Here's my question, Miss. Now you say it went missing. Are we talking grew its own legs and walked out of there missing? Or are we talking something else? Previously having legs, used its legs as the transportation, probably without authorization.
We're referring to the second matter.
Well, that's a lot easier than the first one, I tell you.
Absolutely. The pair of legs in question is one of my forewomen, Rhea McSchiff. I know her to have performed the thing, but I can't fire her or make any moves of that manner myself, because obviously
there's 4 of them.
Yeah, of course. No,
you're outnumbered.
Mainly,
I get it, but there's 4 of us also.
Mainly because if I were to make such an action, then all of these labor troubles that prevent the acquisitions of the land and the eminent domain, as you said, become vastly more difficult were I to start questioning or threatening key employees in positions of authority at the factory. Whereas were some enterprising lawyers able to have that conversation, specifically if they were interested in representing Mrs. McSchiff's position, perhaps gaining her confidence and finding out where, and then arranging to have those materials returned to my office, that would be much better for everyone involved.
To the best of your understanding, is her intention just to sell them for her own means, or does she have another motive, perhaps?
Well,
Would she?
sell them, certainly, but also were the selling them blackmail material, were the case to be damaged and the materials within leaked into the surrounding environment, easily, the results would be catastrophic. The isotopes we mine here, when they are stored and kept safe and under appropriate security measures, are worth, heavens, millions, but also stored very carefully to stop certain explosive and potentially radioactive qualities to make them most defendable against accidents and such forth. But obviously, with them removed from my care, that's not such a thing I'm able to guarantee.
Of course.
So I have no idea what Mrs. McSchiff intends to do with these materials, but it's most important for everyone who dwells on the planet for us to have them within our custody as soon as possible.
Mm.
And of course, I will pay you handsomely upon their return, and double if you can gut the opportunities of these hardworking local folks trying to organize this resistance, and give them some well-placed advice, perhaps, about how to resist the foul interlopers from VTX. Were you to give them some helpful advice on these legal disputes?
Now, when you say got the opportunities, you're talking about the opportunities, not.
What do you mean? Sorry, I out of character. I do not know what you mean by that.
Not gutting the person themselves.
She wants you to sabotage the ability of the townsfolk to resist her takeover.
She's not hiring us for murder, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you were to say, give them some bad legal advice, which means that all their arguments fall over, she'll make sure you're paid handsomely.
Okay.
Much easier.
Yeah.
but how could lawyers like you even give bad legal advice?
It doesn't seem possible, frankly, but sometimes exceptions can be made.
Even experts get it wrong sometimes.
Occasionally.
Occasionally.
All right. Well, that
All right,
takes
sounds like you
that
got
takes
a
care
deal
of her. But what about the other three women? My character asked before we smash cut to wherever we're going next.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go pay her a visit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to approach her when she's at work, or do you want to find her after work?
After work sounds like the better approach to me, but I'm open.
Yeah, do we want to catch her as she's leaving because she's at the mine? That way we're over
Should be
near
at the
there at
factory
least.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can be waiting in the parking lot by her
That's
car.
a classic.
Yeah.
That's a classic move. Can you guys tell how fucking hard I'm working to try and maintain this Australian accent?
It's
You're doing a
impressive.
great job.
Yeah, I
When-
thought it
when
was
you
a
started
brave
speaking, I was
choice in an
like, wow.
Americana game. Like your
Yeah.
voice is already perfect for a sleazy space cowboy. Not much work required. But I appreciate the vigor and the vim.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. So
Yeah.
you guys are gonna head to, you said, the car park of Facility 01. Okay, and then wait for this lady when she finishes work. That'll be about half an hour. Yeah, so what do I need to do here? What needs reading? Blah, 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 blah. Cool, yeah. So you find it's not like, when we say it's a car, it's probably actually going to be like a bike of some kind, because she doesn't live far enough from the facility to need a big car, an expensive car, especially because all the cars in this game fly because of obviously space. And a flying car will probably be overkill here. So it's probably like a sort of jet bike of some kind, honestly, but a very low-tech, clunky hover bike. And you're able to find her one by speaking to Palia, and you're able to, basically end up in this near this woman's car, and you wait for her to finish work. The whole shift finishes at about 6 o'clock. It's the sort of day shift, and then you're here in the. So she is young, quite muscly from working in this mine, wearing like very blue collar, like a blue collar jumpsuit, covered in like soot and ash, and has like short blonde hair, and looks just very angry as a person having finished work, and kind of sees the four of you and goes, hey, tries to get on her bike, gives you a nod. What do you do?
I mean, I'm standing in front of her bike as if I think that she can't just back it up.
So guys, can I help you fellas?
We're actually here to help you.
Oh. And how would you propose doing that?
Matt, perfect timing.
Well, what are we proposing?
Are you familiar with an amicus brief?
Yeah. So this is where I have, I think I have some fake legal papers probably that I carry around. They're all wrinkled and crumbled and stuff. There's some receipts in there too. One of these is, a little coffee stain, sticky stuff there, but I'm able, I reach into my bag or whatever, and I get enough of these papers to have a kind of an intimidatingly sized pile that then I kind of, hand over to Miss McSchiff.
She starts looking, opens up the little folder you've made and starts looking at it and going, what's this about? I'd like to get home.
Well, do you want to get
Are you
home?
serving me with papers or something?
Or do you want to get rich?
I mean, that sounds really helpful, yeah. How are you going to help me get rich?
Well, if you look at document 37B, and I think I kind of lean over and start leafing through some of them, and there's one that has some phrases circled and highlighted and a couple dollar signs drawn in red. And then maybe I've also written, this is, so I'm not making a verbal threat, but I have written the word briefcase with question mark next to some of the dollar signs.
Buddy, this just seems to be like a sheaf full of papers. You guys lawyers?
50%. 50% of us here.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
I know about the bar exam.
God.
That's perfect. Says, sorry, are you suing me, or are we suing someone, or are you suing someone and you're going to make me rich? What's happening here? I'm confused.
It sort of depends. It sort of depends on kind of how you want this to go. Essentially, we know you've got something good, right? And ideally, we'd love to find what we call a win-win scenario. Now, VTX...
I actually like to refer to it as a win-win-win because you win, the other party wins, and then we win.
Exactly.
So, more winning, better.
We're all winning here.
And since
yeah, go on.
And since
you're a full man,
friends,
it's win.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I could read you. The book now, Tony.
As soon as I broke, you're like, no, I know what dumb shit's gonna come out of Tony's mouth. It's great.
Sorry, go on. Win-win.
you know,
So
so
how
that-
would you propose we win? Win.
When?
I'm gonna kick it back to my buddy Staley.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. There's like Deckard was saying, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. The easy way is you help us find something that may or may not have gone missing, that you may or may not have knowledge of, and may or may not could or could not be sold for a large amount of money. Second option is we proceed with eminent domain lawsuits, things like that, kind of get you tangled up in more of this bullshit paperwork that you've got in front of you, so that it takes you longer and longer to get home every night because you have to spend more and more time at the office dealing with this stuff. My camera has frozen. I'm gonna unfreeze it 1 second. So I'm making a threat, I think, is what I'm doing now. I don't know if
you
this
guys
is
are
something I have to
working. Okay,
roll for.
do you want to make that? Do you want to roll that threat?
I would like to roll this threat.
Well,
Okay.
wait, hold on. Well, I'm the muscle,
Wait.
so it's probably I should probably roll the threat. He should
Okay.
make it, and I should roll it. Wait, Tony, what's
I was
up?
going to say, wait, before we decide to use a game's mechanics, let's just keep on bullshitting for a while.
You're not wrong.
I think this woman is extremely. She's worked out that you're working for Parlia. She hates Parlia
Mhm.
more than anything else. I've specifically got written for her character. Loves calling people scabs when they disagree with them,
Sweet.
and would eat her own gun before breaking bread with Parlia.
Okay.
So I think that is whatever happens here. She's probably not going to be on board, and I reckon you're against the odds on this
Okay.
check to try and intimidate her.
I would be willing to step up and try to smooth that situation.
Let's see.
Yeah,
let's
that's
let
perfect.
us see what the dice actually say before
Yeah.
we see what happens next. So, Jelly, walk us through. It's going to be 2d6 plus savvy,
2d6 plus. Well, if it's a threat, it's probably either going to be muscle or grit,
muscle or grit.
depending on the approach.
I'm thinking grit here.
Mhm.
Just because
Yeah.
the threat really, I think the threat that we're making isn't necessarily a bodily threat. It is a
It's
threat
more
of
inconvenience,
persistence.
I think, is the
It was
thing.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
will break
Sure.
you with through sheer annoyance and
Exactly.
wearing you down.
I've GM'd threats in this game that have been savvy, muscle, and grit, and
Okay.
all three of them
Exactly.
can be different types of threat. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with grit being used here. So you're rolling 3 dice. You're
Okay.
picking
Yep.
the 2 lower ones, adding 2, and trying to get 8.
Okay. Well, Zach, I didn't get it.
You didn't get 8. What did you get?
That'll be a 5 there, Zach.
Is that with the
Fantastic.
bonus? That's still a 5?
Oh, that's with the bonus.
Oof.
Oh,
I got-
heaven.
Womp
I got
womp.
a
Yeah,
2
yeah,
and a
okay.
3.
Oh no.
So there is a mechanic called exertion. Characters, you can spend your heart, which is your health points, on exertion to overcome poor dice rolls. After you roll a stat check, observation check, or attack, or after an opponent rolls an attack against you, you can spend any amount of heart and re-roll 1 dice for each heart you spent. So if you want to spend some heart, you could maybe try re-rolling some of those dice if it went better. But because you're rolling 3, the top one will still be discarded.
Hmm.
So you might have to, if you re-roll some lower dice, I don't know how much that's going to leave you if you were looking at 3 on the 2 dice.
Could. It actually has a chance of getting me where I need it to go. I'll spend 1 heart, and I will re-roll that 1. I've got a 1 in 3 chance. There we go. That was a 6. It gets dropped, so I'm left with a 4 and a 2, and plus my grit, that's an 8.
Sick.
Okay. Well, she kind
Well,
of,
hold
it
on.
works.
Yeah, hold on.
Looks a little bit shaky.
Let me pitch it. Let me pitch it real quick.
Cool.
Yeah, and she's like, she stands up and she's ready, and she's like, and I'm like, listen, I'm a patient man. I know where you work. I can probably guess where you drink, and I really think that between the two of us, we can make a deal. So Either we deal now or we deal later. Just depends on what you're willing to put up with.
Well, so I'll. She's like back against the wall. I need that case because those corps, they ain't gonna give the people here what they deserve, especially if it means they'll be making millions after spending thousands on us. And if we make it difficult for them, which we need to get what's worth for this planet, it's gonna happen. I want that so that when they don't pay up, if they don't honor the deals they've made, you know, the materials in there can render this whole planet uninhabitable for decades and destroy any investment they've got. And that's when the people of this community will get what they need. And, you know, if I wanted to make money, I could have flown my ship out of here and sold that on the black market the moment I managed to steal it, because it's worth more than I am. I could sell that to any, you know, any arms dealer for, you know, what I make in 20 years. That wouldn't be hard. There'd be a bounty on my head after I did it, but I could do it. And, you know, if you're going to threaten to, whatever it is your weird law firm threats are, rough me up, or, you know, throw rocks at my cat, like, I don't fucking know. But I want to make sure she doesn't get that compartment back, because she's fucking rotten, that woman. She's evil, and she's making the people here hurt so that she can make money. And if you lot are engaging on that, then you're just as bad as she is. And, you know, if you're going to deliver all these threats, do you think you're the first person she sent over to threaten me?
At this, Sterling has realized that he is out of his depth, and now I am afraid of what this woman can and will do to our law firm.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like what you would like would be for the corporation to just leave you alone or fuck off entirely. Is that accurate?
They've already got a planet that makes them billions of credits a year selling isotopes. Why do they need to buy the rest of it and get a monopoly and force the people who don't work for them to leave so they can triple the size of their factory and make 3 billion a year, and all these people have to pay for it? I don't want to kill all the corpos. I just want them to stop wanting more. You know, but because, you know, if I stopped, then because they pay my bills, they keep me in a job, but you know, it's everything all the time, you know, and they're willing to do bad shit to get it, and so someone's got to be doing bad shit to, you know, get it. And like, you know, if you boys, you know, keep threatening me, I'll tell you where the damn thing is, and you can get your payday. But the thousands of people that live here are going to suffer because of it. Do you think you can live with that?
Do you think you and the people here could make a go of it without them?
Running the factory, not a chance in hell. No.
Or not necessarily the factory, but you could make it all right.
There was a planet here before they showed up. There was people made do before they built a factory and dropped in a spaceport and started undercutting all the local businesses. Yeah, we'd make do. We'd go back to cattle farming and, you know, simpler mining that doesn't involve that kind of mineral. We'd make it happen.
In the case, is it an all or nothing deal? Would it be possible to get just a little bit of what's in there?
If you open the crate without the right storage materials, then it's poisoning the land for generations. You know, it's got to be in the factory. You can't just skim a bit off the top.
I'm wondering if there's a
Warning.
way that we can convince the corporations that that's already happened.
Oh,
without
I like that.
actually doing it.
I also think there might be. Now, Sterling, you can teach me on the finer points of this. But I'm wondering if there might be something to be done here with eminent domain.
Ooh. Well,
The
I
land
think
was already here. The isotopes were already here. The people were already here. It's just the corpos that weren't. You know, if we can make some kind of a case that the people had a claim to these resources, and that maybe, you know, there was something fishy about the corpos coming in, we could probably eminent domain the fuck out of this. We get a case, they get the mine, win, 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 win.
Win-win
Win-win.
for your three friends.
We need the case though, is the thing, right? That's the leverage here.
We do
We
probably
need to know where the case is to be able to make the argument. Because I think if we're holding a gun to the sun, that gives us a little bit more credence legally. No judge or jury would disagree with that.
The other thing is that, just saying this here, Parley has been roughing up people all around town. You know,
Interesting.
Jim Portugal, she's, you know, bribed him to come here. The mayor is all kinds of dodge, you know. And, you know, I've seen the numbers that she said the facility can do once the new position's in place. And, like, I think those are rubbish. She might be lying to her bosses as well. Like, you could get into her office and have a look at some of the stuff on her computer. She's been blackmailing people all over town. Like, you know, you're not the first thug she's sent to rough me up looking for the suitcase. You know, and you know, if you had that material, you know, from her office, the whatever disputes you have about her doing illegal things and that we're actually entitled to these resources, they'd be a hell of a lot easier. You know, the kind of materials, evidence you could use to make a case.
The case with the materials, is it a common thing or is it a special, like, could you get a case without those materials in it for us?
Ooh.
Oh,
It's for
easy.
containing
Yeah, there's
isotopes.
10 of them in the plan. You know, like, they're all over the plan. I could get you one.
And who's roughing people up?
Oh, there's two hired guns, out of town muscle. They call themselves the Francisco Fighters, two outlaws.
Those Francisco folks always coming down to Fresno, acting like they run the place. I get
And
it.
you know it. Asp and Carly are their names. Two unpleasant, mean-spirited, you know, outlaws.
Oh, we'll see what we can do about that also.
Well, they'll leave once she's gone because, you know, they're just mercenaries or a hired gang. You know, they'll be on the next spaceship out of here if you deal with Halia.
Yeah, but they'll be off harassing some other innocent people. So maybe taking care of them is not such a bad thing after all.
If it's a charity case, then yeah, maybe. Shall I get you a cachet?
Yeah, that'll be a good start.
Cool. She heads back into the office and about 15 minutes later comes out with a empty. It's like a metal containment cylinder, about 18 inches long and 6 inches wide. It's just like a big, bulky thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's heavy.
I'll take that.
Yeah, that
Pick
sounds
it
All
good.
right.
up.
So it sounds like
Okay,
you might
we have it.
want to get that to her, get her out of her office, and so whoever is good at getting stuff off the computer and get stuff off the computer.
I don't think any of us built that character.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Man, if only Jobson wasn't always stuck at the office.
Okay, we have the thing. And what do we do with it? How do we leverage this?
We tell her that we can't bring it inside because it's too dangerous, and she has
Yeah,
to.
can we dent this thing and say that it's been damaged?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just send her a little like
I
cell phone
I
picture of it. Be
slammed
like,
the corner
hey, is
into the
this all
ground
right?
when you say it.
Yep, exactly. That's what I was hoping for.
It's got a big old dent in it.
Done.
Great.
So
I think we
two
should
of
throw
you
it
are
around
gonna
in the
draw
dirt a
out,
little bit too.
and then 2 of you are going to go into her office and try find the compromising materials.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Which 2 are going to do what?
Well, it seems like it. I think.
We've got 2 talkers and 2 muscle. And so the smart thing to do is split 50-50.
Exactly.
The funny thing to do is to send the wrong people to do their tasks.
You are not wrong.
We send the muscle in to do the talking, and then leave Quinn and I to try to carry this container. Because I imagine that even though it's empty, it seems like something that would be heavy.
It's very heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that especially if there's going to be some, because I don't think she's going to be coming to pick it up alone, right? She's probably going to be taking some other stooges just to try and check us. So we shouldn't go too easy on it.
I mean, I'm happy to do either one. So do y'all? Who wants to do what? Is the question here.
I can go into the
expertise
office. I've got some savvy, so I can. I'll go into the office. But I think Deckard should probably stay with the case. Who is?
Yeah. What if? I have an idea. I have a dumb idea.
Yes.
Which might. So I gain blues when I go all in and live to regret it, make an outrageous bluff, defy the odds, and win big. What if we just leave the case with me? What if I'm just like, yeah, I got it. I'll take care of it. You guys, you go on to the office.
Sure.
Great.
Okay. Why not? Yeah.
So we're gonna call her, see if she will come to another location to get the case. You are, because we can't move it because it's dented. Yeah. You are going to meet with her there while the 3 of us go to the office and try to infiltrate in to get the information.
Yeah, I leave her a voicemail, and I'm like, "Hey, we got it. We found it. I'm gonna be hanging out. Just to come on by. We'll get this."
Where did you arrange to meet her?
Yeah.
I think it would be fun. What if it was at the saloon?
Okay.
Oh, see, that's good because then then there's the opportunity for you to, make some poor decisions while you're waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what was it? Strawberry Roads?
Yep. Strawberry Roan.
Strawberry Roan, yeah. I'll just be at the Strawberry, and we'll do a little business.
So about 15 minutes after you tell her to meet there, because it's not a big town, right? And she's a busy woman, but she's not as busy as a box full of nuclear rods.
Right.
So she'll head there, and she's got 2 security guards with her. One of them seems to be Rita, the lady from before, and the other one seems to be some other guy you don't recognize. But again, same deal, flak armor, like fancy-looking guns, and they stroll into the saloon, and the entire saloon spits at once. On the ground, just like everyone's unhappy, apart from
Oh, we're gonna need a mop
Jim.
in here, eh?
Apart from Jim, who's like, "Ah, God damn it, everyone," and then like just has a big tone. And then we'll cut from that scene. Well, actually, we'll hear what your first line is, and then we'll cut from that scene.
I am sitting at the poker table, and I put the box on the table, and I go, "Ante up."
Nice.
So, you guys find yourself slightly past nightfall at a Kaki Masa Tower. It is obviously this 6th-floor spire of plexiglass and steel, the tallest building on the main street by 4 or 5 stories. It's beautiful, it's blue, it's very nice. There are 2 security guards outside, one of whom you recognize from earlier, one of whom's the other one. A different person who you don't know. The 3 of you, how do you approach breaking into this building?
Maybe talk to Chase and tell him that we're that went so well. We're going to do some business with someone else there.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
You remember us?
Oh, I thought Parley was going to meet your. Sorry, I thought Mrs. Vecumunon was going to meet one of your associates somewhere. You already done?
Yes, that job is complete, and we are looking to do some more because this is what we're good at. You look like you might be good at this too. You ever think about going out for a little bounty work? Beat standing around all day. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I like sleeping in my own bed. That's why I didn't become an outlaw. Yeah. I mean, honestly, most of the places here are just dead end field officers, fella. Like, there might be someone in Mahara, but I don't think. Like,
I think Mahara was.
Don't get me wrong; they're all good, but it's not executives. Like, there's no one from.
Oh.
There's no like directors like.
Do we look like the kind of people who would deal with executives?
No. We're here for the cogs in the machine. Specifically,
Right.
I think this time we're looking for some copyright law work. I just got a book on that, and it seems like,
we don't go for the big high risk, high
not
reward
flashy.
stores.
Yeah.
We just go for a little bit off the top, and that's just like you like to sleep in your bed. We don't like to get into a lot of trouble, so we're just trying to, take a little bit where we can.
Give me a savvy check, Mark, for Eli, and let's see if you manage to sweet talk your way through this guy. I'm going to say Heart of Gold does not apply here.
No,
you're just lying.
Absolutely not. So savvy check is a 4 plus 2 is not it. But I will spend a heart to re-roll that 1. I got a 1 and a 3. That's a 7 plus 2. That gets a 9.
He looks, he says, well, oh, sorry, folks. Chase doesn't yawn in real life. He looks at you like
shift. He's been on his feet for a long
he's
time.
been on the shift for a long time. He sort of says, well, I can let you in, but I don't think there's anyone to talk to. Let me go to the security desk and ring up, see if there's anyone still in at Mahara. He turns around, he goes into the desk, and you've just got this one other guy with the door ajar.
Well, like as soon as he turns his back, like when the door is halfway open, I'm just gonna slam his head into the door. Like I'm not even gonna let him step away.
Cool. This sounds like an attack roll, and I need to remind myself how those work in this game. Let me
Honestly,
check combat.
I'm a big fan of that.
Yep.
Like as soon as he's like, let me go validate this information, I'm like, oh, I don't know a lot, but I do know that there's something I'm supposed to do in that situation.
So this character is surprised, which means they're not ready for combat because they can't take any actions on the first turn of their initiative. Okay. You're in range, you're totally in range, make an attack. Okay, cool. So the target number is 8, but it's actually gonna be 9 because this guy's wearing like actual armor and is not a sort of naked human here. You're gonna roll 3d6 dice for me.
3d6.
And 3d6, yeah.
Am I adding them up or am I giving you a combination of them?
Tell me what the combination is.
Well, the combination is 5, 6, and 6. So
good heavens. Okay.
Hell
well,
yeah.
in that case, what we'd normally do is we'd look at two of the numbers and we'd compare them to a target of 9, and then if any two of them hit, the third one would go over. You've managed to not hit a 9, you've managed to hit a 13 with two of those dice, which means that you deal a flat 6 damage to Chase, and just I think he goes through the door. Like, it's probably made of glass, like most of the things around him. You've tried to smash his head into it, and instead you've thrown him through a shatter-resistant window, and he's just thoroughly out for the count. Probably not dead, like, unless you were trying to kill him. I don't think you were, but...
this is an incapacitate move, not a
absolutely,
not a kill.
The other guy gets goes for his weapon and starts to pulls it out, but Mark and Matt, Sterling and Eli will both get a chance to try do something to this guy before he manages to get the drop on you. What do you want to try?
I have the 9mm, so I'm going to pull that out and just point it as let's not make this messy.
You're going to do it. Okay, that sounds like a grit to me. Do you want to make a check for that?
Yeah, let's do that.
This isn't an attack roll. It's just 2d6. Add your grit. You're looking for an 8.
Cool. That is a 7 plus 1 is an 8. Just made it.
Sweet.
Before
he sort of goes, "Hey, I don't get paid enough for this bullshit."
No, you don't.
He just pretends to fall over.
if you
lies on the ground,
can you hand over those keys before you fall over for us?
He picks him up and gives you the keys and the and throws his gun over the corner.
The little
yeah.
Oh, you knocked me out. Oh no, I'm hurt so much.
I'll buy you a drink later to make up for it.
We sprinkle some of the glass over the top of him, so it looks legit.
So it looks believable.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lies there and just pretends to be unconscious. So you're now able to get into the elevator.
I get to mark blues for that. I didn't use violence. That used to be second nature for me. Yay.
Oh, there you go.
Good. I mean, I think threatened. Yeah, it's fine. You get blues. You get paid.
I could have just shot him in the face, but I didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. You still threatened a man, but I think that was the least violent thing you could do in that situation.
That's my other one, but forcing someone else to do something but they don't want to do. So between those two.
Perfect. Okay, so you've got the elevator. You're able to press the buttons, and you'll be able to get up that elevator quite easy. You try to get into her office, and the receptionist isn't there. But there is a very intimidating looking high-tech lock on her door that you're going to have to get past somehow.
Yeah. Is the door also made of glass?
This door is not. It's made of this is the interior walls are not made of glass, but the exterior ones are. And at this point, you're pretty sure it's going to be shatter-resistant industrial glass, right? And these doors are made of. I'm trying to think of. I was listing through all of the Warhammer and Star Wars themed metal building materials it could have been. I was like, oh yeah, it's made of Durasteel.
It's made of Naquita.
It's made of ceramite.
It's
made of some kind of reinforced metal that you think is going to be a pain to kick through. You're welcome to try though, Tony.
Yeah. No, I look at it. I inspect the lock. I pull out a small what looks like kind of an electronic lead that's got a metal point to it. Then I pull out a screwdriver and I'm poking around, and then you just see me jam it into the slot, and I pull out my wrench and I slam my wrench into the back of it, just trying to break the lock.
So you make it look like you're going to attempt some really cool sleight of hand lockpicking technique.
Yeah.
And then you hit the thing that you hit the lever with a wrench. Okay. Make me an against the odds muscle check.
Tell us what against the odds mean.
Roll 3 dice, pick the 2 lower. This is not the kind of thing that's going to work.
So that's fine. That is. I got to roll the 5, 3, and a 4. So that's going to be 3, 4. So that's 7. Plus 2 is 9.
Cool. Yeah. So your slightly unorthodox technique does manage to work at this door. You get the feeling this is a very expensive lock that's probably encoded with a lot levels of corporate security to stop like lockpicks and corporate espionage, to the point where actually if you just hit it really fucking hard with a wrench, it's going to go through. You're able to break into that room and you find in her desk a reasonably large quantity of corporate blackmail material, which underestimates the amount of money she's going to have to use to bribe these people. There's written evidence of the fact that she's employed hired muscle to rough up townsfolk and get people to agree to her. There's a bribe for the mayor, and also there's some, obviously, with Sterling's skills in financial documentation and legal paperwork, you can also see that she's cooking the books on her estimations for the new factory when it opens. So you're pretty confident that this is enough blackmail material to manage that with her. And I think you, a couple minutes later, return to the scene of, watching Sterling pull a, Deckard rather. I've got everyone's names backwards. No, Deckard.
Yeah,
You're able to watch Deckard delay her for 10 minutes while delivering poker metaphors and talking about whatever it is. And you guys are then able to return with the blackmail material and then get her to agree to stop the expansion. And she gives you a load of money at the end.
So
I think you've got the thing you need. We can align over that last bit. You're able to prevent all these people from suffering an eminent domain buyout.
I think we also took the fancy bottle of whiskey while we were in the office.
Absolutely.
That's what we did.
Yeah. That's a good move. Okay.
Evidence.
There we go.
And that, my friends, is Orbital Blues in a neat 2-hour session with some bits.
Awesome. Let's hop over to our reaction roll. Reaction roll is a live stream inside of a live stream. Maybe my mouth will work. It's a live stream inside of a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the creator of a game that we just played, talk about playing that game. Today we're talking about Orbital Blues. It has the Afterburn Kickstarter live right now. You can go to ttrpg.link/afterburnks to check out all the great things that are happening over there. If you haven't played or hopped on the Orbital Blues train yet, now's a great time because you can get all the past content along with all the new stuff over there. Jelly, for folks who are just joining us, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Orbital Blues?
Orbital Blues is a sad space western RPG about playing an interstellar outlaw, an itinerant roving space cowboy who is trying to make ends meet while dealing with the trauma of their past lives. It is set in a galaxy dominated by corporations and in a sort of Dust Bowl retro future Americana. It is a kind of a merge of an old school-ish base mechanic alongside a bunch of really innovative story game mechanics that basically give your characters a hook into the world and a set of kind of experience prompts that allow them to create this backstory and motivations for a space cowboy suffering with depression and dealing with their mental health problems with the way that they solve crime. It's in a beautifully illustrated book that has loads of in-world advertising materials and band posters and business cards and this beautiful, what looks at the start to be like public domain kitbashed art that actually the artist Josh Clark has painted over and made to be really beautiful. And it's kind of got this faded Dust Bowl energy to it, that everything is kind of these bleached blues and grays and browns and yellows, but also alongside with some really glorious splashes of color. And that's Orbital Blues in, a couple minutes or less.
There you go. Awesome. I had a great time playing. This is the first time we got a chance to get to the table. That's been a game we've wanted to play for a long time, and I really enjoyed it specifically because a lot of people know here at Plus One, we love that, hey, What if we got some story game up in your old school mechanics? It is one of our favorite things to do, and we love that Soul Muppet plays around in that area also too. But let's hear what some of the other players we had thought about the game. Let's start with Marc. Why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Orbital Blues?
Yeah, I'm Marc Major. I do a lot of stuff with games, and you can find me at my last name on the internet all over the place. I have played Orbital Blues before, right after the first Kickstarter, I think, and this one was very different. I think there's a great range of stuff that this game can have. Last time was a train job, a lot of shooting and military stuff, and this was a lot more fun, social sneaking around stuff. So yeah, had a great time with y'all, and looking forward to doing some more sometime.
Awesome. Do you have any questions you want to ask Jelly?
Wow. The new Kickstarter has a lot more spaceship stuff in it, right? Is that correct? What's your favorite addition to the stuff that's in the core book with regards to that?
So that's a really good question. My favorite bit, because it's the bit that I've so there's 3 co-creators in Orbital Blues. Sam Sleaney came up with the original idea for the game, pitched it to me as like Cowboy Bebop Best Left Buried, and I sort of was like, yeah, let's make that. That sounds really awesome. And then wrote the adventure in the core book along with most of the sort of character creation and vibe stuff. Whereas what I looked after was more of the sort of systems mechanical stuff. And then the other co-creator is Josh, who's the artist, who was a huge part of the book's visual development and managed a lot of their own art direction. And also weirdly wrote a lot of words in the book by adding all these fake adverts and in-world bounty boards and bits of advertising. So when we came back to do another book, we kind of worked out the bits that we wanted to do and then sort of pitched to each other the things we might write for the Blues to work out what we do to finish it. So the thing for me is that the troubles are really important to the game, right? They are they're how you get XP, so it's kind of a prompts for how you play, but it's also generating backstory, content, contacts, factions, relationships, behaviors. It's kind of the thing that's most defines the character out of all of the abilities that you pick. And I thought that the spaceship was something that needed a emotional hook as heavy as the characters.
Nice.
So I spent about 3 months trying to write a trouble for a spaceship, right? But it was just so difficult because the trouble for the character is such a versatile and powerful piece of game design technology that it felt weird trying to duplicate it, but for a machine or a home rather than a spaceship. So what I ended up doing was actually making it thinking about what the spaceship was about, which is the sense of home and family and warmth. And because the spaceship ultimately is the reason you can be an outlaw, because you can't be an interstellar outlaw if you have a day job and you pay rent somewhere. That's a very different way of living. That's what some of the characters are talking about. Yeah, I could be an outlaw. Anyone could do it. You don't need a license or something. You just need to be able to beg, steal, or borrow a spaceship and be willing to commit to this itinerant lifestyle. So my favorite bit of the new book is this set of core mechanics of new trouble mechanics about generating something else called warmth, which is the understanding that your crew is love and family rather than just being sad. And so what exists there is a set of mechanics that kind of maybe make you not as sad as you were before, but for some different benefits. And there's an alternate version of Troubles Brewing, which is essentially a different mechanic for trying to heal as a person and become a better, more healthy human being.
Nice.
Which was a big part of the game's the themes to me that I wanted to explore in a longer campaign. And critically, that ability, when you use it at a high enough level, if you've got enough warmth, allows you to remove your trouble. and confront it and move on and become a happier, healthier person. And
Nice.
Kobe was kind of alluding to this earlier. Zach, you only make games that are about sad people and how sad you are. And what I tried to write here was very explicitly a game about a happy ending that you could maybe get to if you were willing to learn things that weren't just like but that's the thing, right? Is that the trouble's brewing mechanic in particular is incredibly powerful from a game design perspective. It basically gives your character enormous buffs for the duration of one scene. And if you time that right, you can use that to basically win any combat you're going into, even if you're fighting loads of people. But there's now like a mechanical incentive, a storytelling incentive to do something mechanically suboptimal, right? That would maybe leans into like, yeah, you'll be a bigger, more powerful space cowboy if you're really sad, but maybe that's not what you want to do with your life. So just for the reasons that it kind of hooks in with the thematic bit of it, the warmth mechanics I was talking about there are like my favorite bits of rules from the new game.
Cool.
And like the rules, the stuff I look after. So that was much longer than I think you're aiming for.
That was great to hear, though. I
That's
loved
great.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's directions I want to push the game in to make there be a reason for it to be happy as well. You know? Yeah.
Love it. Let's kick it over to Quinn. Quinn, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Orbital Blues?
I'm Quinn. I make games. Sometimes I finish them. Sometimes I publish the games that I finish. You can find my work at 200proof.itch.io. That's 200proof.itch.io. There's only a couple of things there right now. What do I think about Orbital Blues? It played pretty much the exact way that I thought it would, reading it, that I hoped it would. It is just like... I love being on stream with Tony. I love playing on Tony's streams.
Yeah.
But I also I go on Tony's streams a ton of the time, and I'm just like, because I want to play with Tony, and then I play a game that really isn't my kind of a game, and I like trying new stuff, but it is really nice to be on Tony's stream and play a game that is my kind of a game, and I get to just like hang out and be like, oh, I get to do some fucking character shit. We're barely rolling at all. There's like, we're just chilling, and I like a game. I don't know, there's something about Orbital Blues, perhaps because its touchstones are so specific and so well built into the book and the graphic design. You just get in there so fast, way faster than a lot of other games, even games with really well-defined or well-explained settings. That doesn't mean that they're easy to place yourself into. In fact, I think a lot of the problem with really well-defined settings is that they can be harder to place yourself into. So the fact that this game, it does the blades thing. It does that thing that really good settings do, which is it's really well defined. It's super rich, but you can also really figure out where you are in it with barely a hop, skip, and a jump mentally. And you just are there. You can picture everything. You can hear it. You can smell it. You can feel it. And I just think that's a really, really that's great. That's game design, baby. And that's not even to get started on the great the trouble mechanics and the fact that you have all of these great character titles that have nothing mechanical attached to them, but pick one. That's delightful. There is people, I expect that people that like crunchy games like them because they have lots of levers to pull and knobs to twiddle, and there's a right way to do it. And I am always in pursuit of a chewy game that has lots of levers to pull and knobs to twiddle, but that aren't numeric. And this game really feels like that. I'm like, oh, here's all this stuff with my character. Here's trouble. Ooh, I can play with this. I can work with this. And then it's like, oh, my equipment. Ooh, and then there's the ship and we designed our little ship and the fun little landing thing. And it's like, oh, well, what other kind of trouble can we get into? What else is out there for me to interact with, right? Because if any game with a setting, if you're delivering a game with a setting, what you are doing is you are saying, here is something cool, and then you have rules to interact with it, right? That's the big difference. A game without a setting is just a set of rules, and the rules are what you immerse yourself in. But a game like this, setting comes first, and then the rules are how you get into it. And so the fact that the tools that you've given us are so intuitive, and demand to be used, they feel good in the hand. It is a game that is extremely successful. It is designed very successfully. And if you're telling me that you have refined and polished and perfected it even further and given me more knobs, more levers, my God. It's like, it's delightful. It's amazing. I mean, I remember I was at Matt's and I flipped through Orbital Blues for the first time, and it just absolutely knocked my socks off. And it's going to be even better than that. It is insane to me that you guys are making, guys are refreshing to any degree Orbital Blues, because it could have come out yesterday and still been one of the best things on the shelf. So it's really, it's wild.
But you don't have any strong feelings about it.
I know, it's kind of,
Can I talk about the setting for a minute? Because I think it's a really interesting aspect to the book. So there really isn't an actual Orbital Blues setting in the book that is like, and this is the place, this is like where all the different people live, here is the law, like this is what the government is, and here are the 6 biggest corporations. Because like, I'm not interested in writing all that stuff, because I don't think I've got any like big brain ideas about like macro setting that are more interesting than what anyone at home could write. But what there is that, and I think Sam feels the same way from me speaking about this, kind of the person who kind of leads on the lore direction. We both decided we're not keen on writing a setting. We want to write a place where vibes happen, right? And so what we have is there's no lore, there's no information, and the lore there is, you could probably piece together by like looking at all the different adventures and learning about the different corporations and the sectors mentioned and like some of the through lines. If you got out a murder board, I believe that someone who owned all the books we'd made could hash together what the actual Orbital Blues setting is, but I couldn't, and I'm the person who writes it, and Sam couldn't either.
Well, I think setting as a place where vibes happen is what I want out of the setting, because there's too many settings that are all lore and no vibe. Like if I have
and even the settings that are high lore and high lore and high vibe, there's still a really meaningful percentage where you can get something wrong. Whereas Orbital Blues, we have enough of it. The galaxy's big enough and the energy is strong enough and pervasive that like, I don't think you could do something wrong within that setting, as long as you pick something that is in America and sucks and put it in space, right? That's my like shortcut. If I ever need to think about what I need to just put in this new adventure, I'm like, well, what bad thing has the American government or people done in the last 250 years? And then I just write something about that.
Endless well of inspiration.
I didn't bring it up like when we were playing, but I'm pretty sure, like, I know the town we were in, or the planet we were on, was named Fresno. I'm almost certain, just from like random trivia that I know, that Fresno is where like credit cards were first tested. So if we're just talking about horrible things that have happened, you've hit the nail on the head. So
I love it. I think at one point we were prepping for this. I had like searched Orbital Blues to find like the previous Kickstarters. We were getting prepped for the stream, and one of the things that came up was like a Reddit conversation that was like the game seems to be so vibes. How is everything else about it? Like it was the immediate thing somebody wanted to know, and like it was a great whole post on the conversation from people who had actually played it about how the games runs, but that was like the immediate thing that had hit somebody. Matt, tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Orbital Blues.
Well, so first of all, I wanted to apologize. I was having some camera issues. My phone, it was fine the whole way through, and then at the end, so I'm on the backup now. But I'm Matt Fennell. You can find me on Blue Sky at Matt Fennell. I do a podcast with Quinn called Urasawa Boys. That's at urasawaboys.com. We talk about comic books, so that's a lot of fun. But yeah, no, I had a great time. So I've had this book on my shelf. When you said it, Zach, when you said it had been out for about 2 years, I was like, oh no, is that how long it's just been sitting there and I haven't read it? And I was like, because I think probably like a lot of your viewers, Tony, I have a problem with backing Kickstarters and then piling stuff up. And
I can't imagine why my viewers would have a problem with backing things on crowdfunding platform.
But kind of echoing what Quinn said, like what drew me to this game initially was, I mean, the vibes. I think the thing that I saw, it was the cover art, and I was like, oh well, I have to play that, like sad space cowboys. And playing it today, like
it was the first piece of art we ever did for the whole thing.
It's, I mean, it's great. It's so good. It's a very good cover. So I was excited to, when Quinn messaged me and said, hey, do you want to join this game? I'm always happy when I get to play a game that's been on my list for a while. And this was a lot of fun reading through the rules before we hopped on the call. I think the list of troubles, I was kind of reading through each of them and being like, wow, I can't believe that this is like, you've mechanized this thing that is like, a very specific way of being sad. And one of my favorite things to do is be sad and brood in specific ways. So being like, okay, I can do this in a game where I'm also, doing Cowboy Bebop or Firefly stuff, or the fun Star Wars EU that I like. I think it's fun to take stuff that I know and like and put it with other pieces of media touchstones that I like. Very excited about the expansion. I just backed the Kickstarter. The VHS thing sounds killer, so that's exciting. But it was I think
from a product sourcing perspective, that's the worst decision I've ever made in my whole life.
I love the note. Yeah, I love the note on that section, which is like you might be able to imagine that finding VHS tape manufacturers is somewhat hard nowadays. You're right.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for that.
It's so good.
But yeah, it was, I think we made it maybe an hour and a half before we rolled the dice. And to me, that's a good time. When we're just vibing, there's so much flavor in here. All of the art is fantastic. I mean, it's just like, I own a lot of RPG books. I don't own a lot of pretty RPG books. And this is one where like, I have, this was out on my coffee table for like a long time. And like when people would come over, they'd flip through it, and it's always, it's a nice looking book, and the game that goes with it is very fun as well. So thank you for running it. It was I had a great time.
You have any questions you want to
ask? Okay. I mean, because I have the Bebop DVDs, right? My camera's so washed out. But Zach, do you have a favorite? Who's your favorite character on Bebop? Or on Firefly? Because I know that was the other one.
I know. I'd rather take Bebop than Firefly. Okay. Firefly to me is like aged quite poorly.
It has, and I never rewatched it because of it. But
yeah. No. My favorite is probably Jet. Because I think Spike is a little bit too easy. Mm-hmm. But my favorite scene in Cowboy Bebop is like the first fight they do in episode 1, where I remember watching it for the first time. Like, secret about me as a person is I really fucking love jazz. Like I have a jazz problem. And all of the soundtracks for all of my RPGs are always jazz related, and it's always just different types of jazz. And for the music in Orbital Blues as written is like a whole wave of like American inspiration stuff. Sam leans more on the Springsteen and the kind of Willie Nelson and kind of a lot more like country stuff that's a bit later on. But I kind of skew quite hard towards the jazz. And the moment that they start having a fist fight, and then and then it all kicks in, the music kicks in, and they start fighting to the beat. I'm like, oh my god, this is you could not make anything like this since. They've invented a new genre here because it's adding all the things I really like: jazz and cowboys and science fiction, and being really sad. And like that is a devastating cocktail for me as a human being. So yeah, I think my favorite character like throughout the whole run is definitely Jet, but that scene with Spike in the first episode, with the moment I was like, oh no, I'm going to watch this entire anime very quickly.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna
and-
watch it again now. Is what has happened. Just talking about this, I'm
Yeah.
like, I should watch that again.
Fucking, it is insane, and it's also the
Yeah.
crazy thing about it is that they knew what they were doing, because in the intro they have the fucking line, the work
Yeah.
which will become a genre unto itself will be called Cowboy Bebop. They put it in the goddamn intro sequence. They
I
knew
forgot
it.
about that. Yeah.
Like they fucking, can you imagine calling not only that you're going to make something amazing, not only that you're going to make something singular, but you're not
Calling that
just
shot.
calling it,
Yeah.
but putting it in there visually, saying it. Fuck.
It's so good.
It's great.
All right, well, I had
I
a
just watched
blast.
it all again recently. It holds up so well.
I should watch the Netflix show.
It's also
That's what I should do.
No, you should.
I almost made a joke about that's the best episode of the Netflix live action. But I did
The
not.
thing is, right, is that the Netflix live action isn't even like capital B bad.
No.
It's
No.
just like
It's just
it's entirely passable television,
Yeah.
right? And I had a nice time watching it.
If the
But
other thing didn't exist, it'd be like I'd
Yep.
be like, this is
Fine.
good.
Fine.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I like the Netflix Death Note movie. It's just the thing that I feel like I need to say every time I have a platform.
Pick this man out to Google me. Get him off.
I had a blast. I enjoyed it. None of us really messed. I mean, we messed around with SADS a little bit, and I think that's kind of my question. Because I can echo everything everybody else has said. It's gorgeous, incredibly well designed. I love the fusion of things. The physical product, like as somebody who's a physical product nerd, is like top notch. Both the original one and what y'all are doing in the new one. Just super excited about everything. Always excited when we get a chance to work with y'all. But I would love to know, maybe as almost a conversation to GMs, because knowing players learning how to engage in SAD and in the narrative beats of it's good for you to wallow in this game. Like, it's good for you to hit those beats, but a lot of players are not used to that in their RPG, right? There is a natural tendency across the board, and there are some players who gravitated to it and it's easy, right? But like, that's not who this is for. It's hard for sometimes players to be like, hey, I am playing a flawed character and that flaw should matter, and I should take the time to be sad and to stop and engage in that emotional space. Which for me, though, there is just telling the players that, right? Like, if players read the book, I think it's really clear. Is there a way, or do you have advice as somebody who's run it repeatedly, for GMs to help their players enter that mindset more intentionally?
Ooh, well, the first thing I would say is that as a player, some of the troubles are much easier than others, right? And this is very much a balance thing, right? Not balance per se, but like some of the troubles are much harder than others. Like, if you want to work with, for example, Lovesick, right, which is the one that Tony was playing, that's kind of all about like taking these really private, intimate moments to like brood and be sad about a certain thing or seek out certain behaviors. Orbital Blues is another classic example of this, but there are a couple that are like very behavior orientated that lead you forwards in the ways that your character acts. That is much easier to handle than some of the ones that are more like referential and in the backwards. The classic two are Best Served Cold and Bloodthirsty, which are like, you want revenge and like just being incredibly violent. And then also the other ones are the two more behavioral ones, which are Party Animal, Devil in a Bottle, and what's the final one? That is Yellow Bellied is another really easy one, because they're all like behavior related. It's like, you are a coward, you're an alcoholic, you love gambling, I've forgotten the last one I mentioned, but like there's a couple that are easier for players. So like, have a think about the ones that kind of reward behavior rather than brooding, because they will fall more naturally to certain people, right? The second thing I'd say is that the trouble exists as a technology that is doing like 5 different things at once, right? So it's an XP incentive thing. It's a initial quant backstory generator. it is a backstory creator for quantum stuff. It also makes for some troubles new contacts and factions. And then the final thing it does is like sculpt behavior by kind of creating these incentive systems and doing that. So understand that the thing you're dealing with it can do like 6 things at once, right? And lean into it and create opportunities in the material you are preparing for your players for those things to appear, right? There's a reason in the adventure we just played that there is poker tables and loads of whiskey, right? Because there are about 4 troubles that those are going to key off really easy, right? There's a bounty board there for a similar reason, because it's an opportunity to interact with things. You want to add characters and add concepts that are going to be intoxicating for your players to interact with, and create hooks for them to take their story engine, this trouble, and then apply it to the world and dig your claws in of feeling about the thing into the content, right? Because if it's just a dusty backwater in the middle of nowhere, they're going to run right through it. But if you fill it with brooding gunslingers, opportunities to make bad life choices, and like the interactions with corporations as well, you make these really easy things for you to do that. And the quickest tool is find something that relates to the trouble and would be an opportunity for your character to prove they're a chronically depressed disaster bastard, and just plop it in front of them. And they'll either ignore it if they're a fool, or they'll run into it and grab experience points like a baby seeking candy once you've trained them a couple times, right?
No, it's such a good piece of tech, the way that you've wired it. And and obviously, like, I think for people who have played a lot in story games, who understand, like, if you tell me this game is about this thing with my character, I'm going to do that thing with his character. And if it's incentivized properly, eventually people who play trad games will learn to do the same thing also too. But knowing those pieces, and even like, but there's also like, even so, like on stream, like even Quinn mentioned, like, hey, like take the spotlight off of me. There is this level at which you're like constantly passing the spotlight around. So knowing when it's like, hey, I want to take the spotlight just to be sad on some of the broody ones. Even for like for somebody like me, I'm like, I could, like, the power gamer in me is like, I'm gonna hit 5 fucking things this time so I can get there. And then I was like, oh, I just have to continually talk. And it's like, none of them are hard. Like my prompts would have been super easy because I can just narratively name, this thing reminds me of my past lover. Here is how I'm responding to it in the moment. And it works. Like, it's a very easy thing to trigger. And I did it once, and I was like, that was fun. And I was like, I could continue to do this, but how much spotlight time do I want to take up with it? Which that's a stream concern more than it is anything else, right?
This definitely also feels like a game that is paced really differently when it's not on stream.
Very much so.
And so there's just a lot there. Like, there's so much to unpack in just the Troubles concept that I just really love and wanted to make sure I asked, because I do think that's something that if you're a GM out there running this game, or if you're a player who's playing in it, like, being able to revel in that and being able to know how to invite people into that kind of core piece is an essential thing that's going to make Orbital Blues sing at your table, or be like, that was a blast, let's play the next game, right? Like, and so it's not going to be bad without it, but you're going to get so much more when you can actually really step into all of the things that does.
Yeah, I'm and this is going to insatiably arrogant of me, is that I'm infuriated with myself for how good this piece of game design is, and that I'm going to be writing RPGs for the next 40 years, hopefully. And I probably wrote the best idea I'm ever going to have at like 24. And it's like, well, cool. I'm just going to be in the shadow of like that decision I made while playing Disco Elysium and dealing with a breakup. And I'm like, I need to work out.
You just don't want that to be the best guy of it. Like, why is that your high point? Like, oh, fuck. Yeah,
exactly. Like, my creative high point is like me playing Disco Elysium and working how I can copy a thought cabinet, but in an RPG. It's so good. It's like every single RPG when I'm like, I'm trying to make a game and I'm going to add some percent of something, some percent of something, and some percent of something. I'm never going to make a game that isn't at least 25% Disco Elysium until the day I die. and
Yep.
that's really sad, you know. But yeah,
No, I loved it. It was great to have you on. Folks should, if you have not yet, head over to ttrpg.link/afterburn KS. Check out the campaign. Be like Matt. Back that campaign. At the highest level, empty your bank account. Let it flow out into the goodness that is this game. Y'all have already funded. Congratulations on that. I know you've got
Thanks
some
so much, sir.
amazing things coming through the campaign. I can't wait to see where this goes. Anything else you want people to know about that you haven't had a chance to mention yet?
If you want to play the adventure that we just did, have a look at the mechanics of what just happened, you can grab a copy of 160 Acres for free if you sign up to the Soul Muppet mailing list. And you'll also be able to get an adventure for our game Best Left Buried called A Garden Most Foul, which is another story game about being a person depressed who has a job. So, you know, one of the themes of the game that I tend to make. But yeah, you grab this adventure for free, and there's also a free Orbital Boost Quick Start. It's a little bit dated, but that will do you for everything you need, and it's got like a 4-session adventure in it with a bunch of pre-made characters and all the rules you need, apart from the ones that I changed since I laid out the Quick Start in late 2020. So I'll need to go back and do that at some point.
But I hear it ages better than Firefly.
Absolutely, yeah.
With that said, we've got a couple things coming up. Don't forget about Scream, which is our week long. That's my first time trying to do that. Maybe my last.
Very good.
Which is a series of horror streams we have coming up this week, including 2 I'm very excited about. Our November Zine Club releases. We're going to get to play Kayla Dice, their Fear the Taste of Blood, which is a 3-player RPG about monster hunters based on the Beyond the Rift system that inspired Anyone Can Wear the Mask and Beyond the Rift. Very, very excited to sit down and play that, along with our first Liminal Horrors adventure, Layers of Unreality, that Josh Hiddy is doing. Those 2 are coming out as part of Zine Club next month. And we're horribly delayed on this, but we are doing our first Kickstarter in years here at Plus One EXP. We are launching The Wassailing of Claus Manor, which I'm very excited about. We're going to be playing that next Sunday with Mike Martin, Brian Sago, and some of the other members of the creative team of that game. It's a trophy dark hack. I can't wait to tell y'all all more about that, but lots of other great things. You want to support us here at the stream, you can always follow, like, subscribe, share. But the best thing to do is head over to rpgzine.club. Check out what we're doing there to support emerging and expanding artists. If you want to get cool story games or adventure games, or just 2 cool games sent to you every single month in zine format, check out rpgzine.club. Help us create a better and more sustainable pathway to publication and play for emerging creators from around the globe. But before you do any of that, head over to the Kickstarter, check it out, give it a look. We hope you can back it. If you can't support it, the best thing you can do for a creator that doesn't cost you anything is to share it with somebody who you think might enjoy it, especially if that person might run the game for you later on. So please head over, check it out. If you want to find any of these lovely people's stuff, you can find some of that information linked below in the description. But until next time, we don't have a good way to end streams. And at this point, we're not interested in figuring one out. So we're just going to wave at the camera until I take us off air.
Do you want me to shout Orbital Blue spaceship names until we
Yes.
start?
I mean, yeah, do it.
Okay.
And we're going to
We're going to do
so.
Snakes Sideways, Pale Rider, Ashen Skies, Northern Monk, Ship Name Here, Negroni, White Russian, Red Sky in Morning, Golden Moment, Sweet Sue, Deep Blue Sea, Such Sweet Thunder, Sentimental Mood, Paper